just a ride. Whoa, oh, it's just a ride.
Hello.
Welcome
to
the
Just
a
Ride
Podcast.
My
name
Is
Shaiden.
my
name
Is
Zach
my
name
is
Jeff.
Holy shit, I can't believe that worked.
that didn't really work. Victory. That was fun.
Look, we didn't talk over each other.
That's right.
Brilliant.
We do that from time to time. We're going to try not to do that as much this time. We got one letter and they were like, hey, you guys should shut up a little bit.
And so we, of course, decided to be facetious assholes about it.
Yes.
Because that's how we handle it.
And take it very personally, very, very
We understood
seriously.
exactly what you meant. Shut your fucking word holes when somebody else is talking. I get it.
It's hard.
Probably not going to happen, but you're fucking right.
No, we appreciate your
It
feedback.
kind of
Absolutely.
it kind of exists in that same category as me trying not to say the word like a lot. Yeah, we're going to try, but it's just going to keep happening, unfortunately.
I think when I was editing our show last time, I think we had like two conversations going at one point. Somehow with three of us. I don't know how.
I listened to that part too. I thought the same thing.
It was like,
Yeah, I was telling a story. You guys were
we
being,
were like over here talking about some weird thing, some nerd thing probably.
you guys were nerding out.
It's the same
on my
shit
story.
we do on your back patio, Zach.
Right.
Except, where we just start cross talking, but it's fine there. Cause
Usually
nobody
Monique's
else
involved.
outside is trying to make sense of it, except
Right.
for Monique sometimes.
Yeah, but Monique is usually the other one that's talking, so there's like two conversations. Yeah. Anyway, well, welcome to Just a Ride number 10. We're wearing our Just a Ride shadow boxing T-shirts.
Yeah, we
all
are.
three of us.
Dude,
yeah.
number 10, episode 10. We
Dude.
just hit double digits, boys.
Look at that.
That's 10 weeks of hanging out together consistently.
This is more time we've been able to spend together in 10 weeks than we
Yeah.
have probably in the last
Kind of
2
sick
years.
of both of
Yeah,
you, to be honest.
2020, I got to. This has been too much. No more episodes of Just a Ride.
I'm not used to this much exposure.
This
I've
ride
built up a
sucks.
tolerance.
You're starting to smell.
I'm against the ride.
Our cycles are matching up. We have to pee at the same time now.
Feels right. I'm a camel. I don't pee. I don't ever pee. I pee once
You
a
need to
month.
drink more water, bro.
That's right. I know.
You drink a lot of water.
I do.
though,
I do.
don't you?
That's the thing. You're
Where does
laughing
it
at me,
go?
but it's like,
where does it go?
I just said I'm a
You
camel.
sweat
There's
it
a
out.
couple.
You sweat it out.
You
don't
know
you?
it.
That's what it is.
I did it at band practice yesterday. I put it all on the floor
Yeah.
of where we rehearse. Ugh.
Your space is like a cast iron. It's just being conditioned. It's got a patina.
It does have a patina. I ruin every
That's
stage.
made of
of
rust.
it.
It's
That's
made
rust.
of like sweat and broken guitar strings and ground up nicotine toothpicks.
We got a letter back from the Nicotine Toothpicks guys too. So
yeah.
that's
Yeah.
fun. We're going to hook up with them. And again, nicotinepicks.com. That's where you find these nicotine
They're
picks
our
that helped
first
me quit.
unofficial sponsor.
That's right. We'll take them.
We're adopting them as a sponsor, whether they like it or not.
I use their product constantly. So
Well, I would have to say that I have personally seen and experienced life change with the nicotine toothpicks.
yeah, big time.
So,
And you're the one that got me into it, so thank you for that.
absolutely.
And we actually had a few listeners post that they were into it too. A couple of them
and
posted
they're good.
receipts.
They're
flavors
fun.
are delicious.
Yeah, they're fun.
Yeah, like orange in particular tastes like an orange. It actually tastes like an orange instead of like orange. I like orange sickles too, but it tastes like an orange, and it's like fucking. I've got a fruit in my mouth.
When you take the toothpick out, is there like pulp stuck between your teeth sometimes?
No, there's no pulp.
No pulp.
It's like normal.
Pulp-free?
It's like normal orange juice.
Oh,
You
that's
just
not
take
normal.
out all the good stuff.
That's like
You're right.
the opposite of
You're
normal.
right. Well, it is in wood form. All right. Well, we want to start off like we started off last week with Mr. Eyeball Man, and we can now get to the story as to
give
why
us
he's the
rest.
eyeball.
Oh,
story.
part two of
His name's
Jacob.
Jacob. Yeah,
Jacob.
Jacob the eyeball man.
So,
Thumb spitter himself.
yeah,
he's
last
really
last
thumb
time
man right now.
he bit off his thumb.
This is going to
spit
end
it out.
sadly, isn't it? I just don't see him having a happy
It's all
ending.
all perspective,
Okay,
actually.
well, yeah, fair enough.
So fast forward a couple years, a year and a half, 2 years later, I'm working for another agency, a neighboring agency, and Jacob ends up in our jail. Now, it was a smaller agency. We housed, I think, 35 or 40 people in the jail. So after 5 o'clock, we had a daytime jailer. After 5 o'clock, we would have to do jail checks every hour, whoever was working. And we only worked with about 3 people on the road. So we try and rotate those. But if somebody was busy, you just got stuck doing them. Right. Anyway, Jacob's in the jail. I go back to do a cell check, and he's in with his partner, his cellmate. And Jacob's totally naked, sitting on the bed, just staring at his roommate. The roommate's like, Goldberg, because they called me Goldberg.
That's a weird
because I look like Goldberg. Yeah,
Completely naked.
he's like,
try that with your significant
he's like,
other.
I
Tell me
don't
how it
know
goes.
what he's doing, but if he touches me, I'm going to kill him. Like, okay.
Yeah.
Copy that. Don't touch him.
Yeah. He warned you.
He hasn't done anything yet.
He feels threatened.
Anyway, do the jail check. I'm outside the jail. Then I hear screaming going back in the jail. And I go back there, and what it is, it's Jacob. He's on his hands and knees, naked, howling like a dog and drinking out of the toilet. So I decided maybe it was probably time to take him out of the cell and put him into a holding cell. So I call mental health. Mental health comes down. They're 2 workers. And they come, and I bring him out where they can talk to him in private. He signs a contract that he's not going to hurt himself, and they're like, well, he signed a contract so he's not going to hurt himself, and he's fine. He feels great.
Oh, perfect.
So
that'll solve it.
he can go back in. So
He crossed his heart.
Yeah, he pinky swore.
I mean,
so I put him back in the cell.
He broke off his pinky, so.
Went back out. I mean, that's all I can
Literally
do.
spit his pinky at me.
Yeah, it's
That's
a swear.
serious.
It's a pinky swear.
So he can still do a pinky swear at least.
They
He
were
couldn't do it.
crooked.
He couldn't.
It was crooked.
No thumb wars
Yeah.
for that guy.
Right.
But anyway, I put him back in the cell. Go out on the road. Come back. Do my next check. I don't remember how long it was. And I keep hearing this thumping. It was like feet on the ground running, and then this big slam. I'm like, what the fuck? It sounded like there was a fight going on.
Okay.
Nope. Just Jacob, naked again, running from one side of the cell to the other and just slamming himself face first into the wall.
Oh.
Like, what the fuck?
Oh, dear.
Damn, dude.
So
I saw a cat do that one time, trying to get out of a house.
I did that one time by accident.
no, he's doing it on purpose. So I have to get him out of the cell, put him back in the holding cell again. I call mental health again. They come down, and again they interview him, and he signed a second contract. Because mental health is very, very effective and it helps people immensely.
Second time's the charm. That's
Yeah,
what
they're
I
like,
always
well,
say.
he said he's not going to hurt himself. Well, he was literally slamming himself into a wall like a goddamn moth going to a light.
Yeah.
I mean, what are you doing?
Yeah, I promise.
He said he's not going to. So I put him back in the cell, and mental health just gets out the door. They're going. I'm getting my gun put back on, and I just hear scream, Goldberg, Goldberg. They're just going nuts. And I go back into the cell. Or back into the cells, and he's sitting on the bed. He has blood running out of his face. I'm like, what did you do now? He shoved his finger into his eye, got in behind his eyeball, and ripped his eyeball out and ate it because he wanted to see what the inside of his stomach looked like. Now,
trigger warning for
You can't
those
see
of
my
you.
face, but my whole ass mouth was hanging open just now. And I was imagining an eyeball. Like, that's
and I don't.
satisfying to think about for me for some reason. Just like a little slimy eyeball. Just, you know?
And again, if I wasn't,
The reality is disturbing.
if I didn't
It is.
witness it myself, I wouldn't believe it because I've done a lot of like European mounts with animals, and you have to remove the eyes before you boil them, and it is hard to get an eyeball out. Now, understanding the animal's
Especially
been
if
dead,
it's
and
your
generally
own.
it was frozen.
Right.
You know, it was frozen for a
You can
while,
feel
so
it.
there's some other things that I got to work with. So I don't know if a live animal versus a dead animal, it's easier to get the eye out of the live person.
You should try it. Do
But
it
the
right now.
but the commitment, right? The commitment that he put into that. To eat his eyeball because he wanted to see what the inside of his stomach looked like.
You kind of got to respect it.
Yeah, that's an
I mean,
idea that
it's like,
just
wow.
wouldn't quit.
That's hardcore.
Yeah.
That's metal as fuck.
Yeah, it was. He was committed.
Somebody should write a very heavy song.
I love the logic of that too. Like, I want to see what's in my stomach, so I'll just send an old eyeball down there to have a look.
Disconnected.
So needless to say, he went to the hospital.
Get ripped
at that
off of
point.
the ocular nerve, or like was he? Because like
There was shit hanging out. I don't know if he'd actually chomped
give
it
him
through.
really
No,
close
no. I
inspection?
was grabbing
You know,
towels and shit. And
yeah.
We've grossed out a
Wild.
few people with the show. I think the Spit Cup got a few people. I think that one's gonna.
People definitely have some like weird phobias.
The
too.
garbage
like, there's
can.
Guaranteed somebody's
Yeah.
going to hear this that has a weird eyeball phobia thing.
Oh,
and they're
yeah.
going to be like,
I hate
cancel
that.
subscription. I
hate that podcast.
I'm going home forever.
So
And it's okay. We respect.
obviously he went to the hospital and they just let him out of jail at that point. And then fast forward a couple years
Let
later.
him out of jail, like, you're free to go. Sir?
Yeah.
What?
You're fine.
Yeah, he doesn't.
Reform.
You're good to go. You're reformed. Obviously, you ate your own eyeball.
Now you know.
Not
so
dangerous.
if you want to get out of jail for free,
Eat your own eyeball.
eat your own eyeball.
It's a ticket.
That's the price of admission.
ticket.
You only get 2 of those, but you know. Dude, get out of jail free
It's like
cards.
that scene in 300.
You can do it twice.
It's just an eye.
Right.
God saw fit to grace me with a spare.
But keep the second one, so you really only get one if you want to enjoy life fully.
So fast forward a couple years later, he and his brother steal a city public works truck from a local city. They drive it to a city in Oregon, get in a pursuit, crash on one of the crossing bridges over the Columbia River, and they both died.
There's the sad ending
There it
I
is.
was waiting for.
Well, wasn't going to be like,
it's
and then he
perspective.
volunteered at a puppy shelter and
He was-
saved
I
all
mean,
the
It was
puppies.
not a reform story.
He's no longer worrying about breaking his fingers and biting off appendages
Well, he
and
wasn't-
swallowing his eyeballs.
I mean, an argument for him, he really wasn't worried about it. He
Isn't
actually
that an
did.
interesting thing? So that's kind of. So I have this deep-seated fear of losing my mind, like going crazy. But it occurred to me. It occurred to me one day. It occurred to me one day that as long as you're worried about going crazy, you're fine. Because when you're crazy, I mean, there's different flavors of crazy. I'm generalizing,
Sure.
obviously, but
Yeah.
when you're actually when you've actually lost your mind, you don't give a shit.
Well,
Because
you don't know it.
That's off your. You're not
Perhaps.
worried about that shit.
Well,
anymore.
everybody says Alzheimer's is terrible, but depending on your personality, I mean, if you like to go out and meet people, you get to meet new people every day of your life. It's amazing, and it seems normal to, put on your pants and then your underwear on the outside. You're just setting a trend. So,
Always a
Super
calm
limited, and
bride.
everybody was like, "Fuck yeah!"
yeah, and you don't
I
give
followed
a
that. I
fuck about what anybody cares. It's probably the best time in your life.
Who knows? Who knows? But no, I share that fear too, where it's like the mind is kind of the thing that you have.
Well, my mind is not that I'm a genius, but my mind has always been pretty sharp, and being able to not rely on that faculty scares the shit out of me.
Same.
'Cause I'm like, I'm not pretty enough to exist as a stupid person. Like, I gotta have at least one.
That's fucking funny. Yes, you are, you pretty bastard. How dare you? Well, fucking A. So that's our eyeball guy. Eyeball, what the fuck's his name?
Jacob.
Eyeball Jacob.
Jacob the eyeball
Old
guy.
Jake, rest in peace, buddy.
Rest in peace.
I hope you
digested the
reincarnated as a
pieces.
wolf. That would be so appropriate.
Yeah, it would be.
I have a
Maybe that was what he was doing.
Yeah.
I have a story about his brother that would be relevant
Throw
to
it.
tell. Okay.
I want to hear it.
So his brother, his name was Mitchell.
Jake and Mitch.
Jacob.
Yeah, and I was working. It was actually a swing shift at this time, and I saw Mitchell walking down the road with a broken down recurve bow and arrow. Didn't really think much
Sweet.
of it, but then I saw him walk into the plaid pantry at the end of town. I'm like, that just doesn't seem right.
That's not the venue for that tool.
That just doesn't seem right. So I pull around the back of the building, and I'm working. I guess I should have clarified I was working if it wasn't assumed already.
Right.
Pull around the back of the building, and I walk in, and he's got his face covered with a ski mask, and he is trying to string the bow up to do a robbery with the bow and arrow.
Whoa.
Do that
The
before
flat
you get
pantry.
in there.
Yikes. And that's his brother, huh? All right.
Yeah, that was his older brother.
That's ballsy. Trying to knock over a joint with a bow and arrow, like a recurve bow.
Shit.
That's like.
Well, the point is that the brothers'
I'll get you on the
mentalities
reload,
were
dude. You
very,
better hit
very
me first
similar.
shot.
They were very, very similar in their thinking.
Huh. Interesting. Well, I guess rest in peace to both of them. The world is
The first time
lighter without you.
the first time I got pulled over, I had an incident with the bow and arrow. Actually, I got pulled over for not wearing my seatbelt when I still had my novice license, which is a
Neat
thing
plug.
in Canada. And I was.
They carry bow and arrows up there.
I was gonna say.
No guns
He
as
came up on a horse and-
he rode up on a horse and pointed his bow and arrow at me. And
He said, "That's enough maple syrup for you, sir."
he pulled me over with his pants where the hips are like really super stuck out. You know what I'm talking about?
His
Yeah.
bloomers.
Oh, yeah.
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 Bloomers.
Yeah. That's actually what they're called, isn't it?
I believe so. I don't know.
Bloomy bloomers.
I was not a traffic guy. I don't write tickets. That's not my thing.
One of the reasons we get along, I think, probably. So this guy pulled me over. This is a short story, but he pulled me over. I wasn't wearing my seatbelt. Didn't even realize. My dad was like, "Go home and get the hose attachment." And I was like, "Okay, Dad." And just hopped in, and he's like, "Hurry up." I'm like, "Okay, Dad." And so I drove off. Didn't put my seatbelt on. He pulled me over, and I had a bow, just a little hickory bow. It wasn't even a recurve, a piece of shit bow. It was unstrung in my passenger seat. I was just really into. I was shooting it in the woods all the time. I was into it, you know. When we moved there, I walked my ass down to the RCMP station. I said, "Hey, is it okay for me to shoot this like in my yard and stuff, or is that not okay?" Because I didn't know. I was not from Canada, you
Right,
know?
yeah.
And they were like, "It's fine as long as you're not shooting it at somebody, and it doesn't have as long as it doesn't have a trigger, it's fine." I was like, "Cool, copy that." So as far as I know, I'm like, I'm good. You know, this guy pulls me over. He looks at the bow and he goes, "What do you do with that?" I'm like, "Well, nothing right now." Like,
I'm looking at it like you are.
I'm like, "Shoot it at stuff, not people." He goes, "You better not keep that in your car. Somebody might get the wrong idea." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And then he proceeded to write my fucking 17-year-old ass, no, 16 at the time, 16-year-old ass $152 ticket for not having my seatbelt on. And he smiled and said, "Have a nice day." I was like,
well, Jeff's story is...
Okay, thank you for the ticket.
Jeff's story reiterates why that is a ticket and why he was scared.
Hey,
it's like you could rob
I'm
a
not
place.
mad about the ticket. I'm mad about his attitude.
I did want to hear what his why was, though. I hope he would have given you a why, but
all he said was somebody might get the wrong idea. There's no legality or anything.
yeah. See the like what?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I'm like,
An example?
I'm like, it's not even strung, man. Like, it'd
Please,
be one
sir.
thing if it like had an arrow knocked and it was sitting there waiting for me to just grab it.
Educate me with your wisdom.
You're a big stick. What are you going to do with that big stick, sir?
Yeah.
I don't know. Fucking hit somebody with it,
I never
guess.
saw him patrolling town after. He was either not from there and he was like subbing in. I don't know how that shit works, or he didn't last. I don't know, but I lived there for many more years and never saw him again around town. It was a small town,
Wow.
so I would have.
Yeah.
You know. So.
Weird.
But he got me. My whole summers of mowing lawns went to paying off that ticket. I tell you what.
Dumb. That's a lot of blondes at $10-20 a piece. No fun.
Yeah, God, this is just going to spin off on cop stories, but
Do it.
I was just thinking about you talking about him coming up, and we were laughing about him having the bow and arrow.
Yeah.
But I can remember making stops on cars, even though I didn't write tickets. I stopped cars for various reasons, and having certain people freak out on me because I had a gun and like demand that I take my gun off. I'm like, "Oh, you know, you're right. And I start to walk. I'm like, "What's wrong with you?"
I don't know you.
What? Yeah, I'm just going to go take my gun off because you're
Here,
afraid.
why
of
don't you hold it? Actually,
Yeah.
Does that make you feel better?
Here, just touch it.
You pointed
Take
at
it out.
me.
Touch it right there. Just see, it's not going to hurt you.
Pointed at me. That is crazy.
Just a dumb thing that
So bizarre.
It feels like that person needs to spend a minute on a range or in a ride along, and then they can.
Well, yeah. Well, and the best, the cameras coming out when cell phones just got ridiculous, and it was somebody's pulling a phone out.
Yeah.
I didn't care. I mean, you can record me all you want, but I just told me, can you just do me a favor, just not have it in your hands while we're having a conversation.
Right.
Set it up. You just put it wherever you want. I'll wait. Let me know when you're ready.
People get pretty
turn it
provocative
off.
that way too, don't they?
They turned it off.
You're like, how do I look? Should I suck
Yeah.
in or which
side's
side's
my
my
best
good
side,
side, in your
yeah.
opinion?
That's crazy. They often antagonize you too, didn't they?
They try to, yeah.
Yeah, because I've watched a ton of those videos where people are just very rude at that point. And it's like, what's going on here? You don't know what's going on. Why are you? Who are you? But I get it where people are like, well, I've heard about things, and so I want to protect this citizen from this evil police officer or whatever.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. It is not always a black and white world. So, oh well.
Nuance, baby.
Yeah.
'Tis very gray.
And you lived in all of that where you had to deal with that all the time.
It was awesome.
Yeah. You have the right personality to embrace and still enjoy your life. To deal with all that shit, you do have the right personality for it. So, lucky you. Lucky
Well,
him.
that's what I tell myself every day in the mirror. Now, if it's true or not, we'll find out.
We are retired now. How you doing? You a happy guy?
Dude, life's fun.
Good.
Yeah, I
Hell
get to
yeah.
go do stuff.
Yeah, no shit.
Yeah,
You've been doing
and
all
we're
sorts of stuff.
super detached from the city. It's really nice.
Don't give a shit anymore. You're like,
No.
glad to be.
I walk everywhere.
How much do you miss it?
This
is going to turn into the Jeff Getchell.
So there was
Yeah.
recently we had a shooting in town. A friend of mine was involved in an officer shooting.
Oh, shit.
Officer involved shooting
In the valley or in the city?
in the county.
In the
actually,
county, okay.
yeah. Guy, he's been around as long as I have. But still, when I hear, and it's, I don't know if you've been paying attention. I mean, there's about an officer involved shooting. It seems like every week. I don't know statistically what it is, but it's a lot.
Right. It
There's
seems
a
like it's
lot.
a
I mean, there's shootings
drastic
every day here
increase.
now.
Yeah.
Shootings and stabbings. There's murders every day here now.
Which was not how it was.
Or at least
10 years ago.
aggressive assaults that could potentially turn to death. A lot of officer involved shootings, and when that happens, there's still that guilt. Even when if an incident happened when I wasn't working, I felt guilty that I wasn't there.
Oh, yeah.
That it's the protector of your
Your brothers. And,
of your brothers and sisters, so to speak. And it's like, no, I want to take on that burden. I want that responsibility. I want to take on what happens afterwards,
Yeah.
having been through it, you know what to expect, but to know now he's going to have to go through whatever bullshit, legally, through the investigation, psychologically, and then it does affect you outside of work and at work. And if I could take that away from somebody, I totally would.
So now you have to deal with that, and we're like, I can't anymore, or I'm not going to anymore.
Yeah. So having
put on a Batman cape.
having that break, it really brings it home. It's like, wow, I really don't do that anymore.
Yeah.
That's the big deal. But other than that, the negotiation stuff, that's what I really miss.
I bet.
Yeah, being able,
that's rare.
Being able to
I remember how excited you were when you told me you were getting to do that.
Oh yeah,
and how perfect it is for you.
Just being able to it almost sounds arrogant, but being able to take your words to manipulate somebody, generally over a phone, who really, really doesn't want to do what you want them to do, but to get them to do that so nobody gets hurt.
It's gotta be a good feeling.
That is an incredible feeling.
And
it's
very
way
rare,
better than
rare talent.
I mean, I already know I can kick somebody's ass, and if I can't, I know how many people are coming to help me. Like that, I don't give a shit. I got to the point where I didn't give a shit about that in my career. But being able to, quite frankly, play better mental chess than somebody else for a positive solution, that's what really.
That's great.
And now he's a mind ninja. He's a black belt in your brain.
Yeah. I was going to say, with great power comes great responsibility, et cetera, et cetera. And now it's just
Uncle Ben. Nobody cares.
Yeah, right. It's just mind fucking all of us. Like,
having said that, my officer involved shooting was my first negotiation.
That's right.
Is when that happened. Yeah.
You want to tell that story?
Well, I told it once before, but it was
a little bit, huh?
Yeah.
There was a lot to that story, though.
It was just the Reader's Digest version of it. I mean, you can look it up if you want, but this guy had lit the motel on fire. Several rooms were on fire. He was said to have a gun. He definitely had a knife because I saw it. And he was homicidal, suicidal. And myself and other officers were in the burning building with him, and I tried to negotiate with him on a face-to-face negotiation while he was at the top flight of the stairs for just shy of 20 minutes.
Fire alarms blaring.
Fire alarms going off. He started to come down and comply, and then something triggered. He was all methed out. Something triggered him, and he came rushing at us with a knife. And we had to use deadly force.
Yeah. So. He's a big guy.
Yeah, and he actually lived for a while. He lived for a while, and then I guess he died of infection or something to that effect.
Right. Yeah. I remember.
But anyway, I can remember after I went through all the schools and everything, I'm like, they didn't really tell us about this part of negotiation. It was always on a phone, in another room, from a safe location. We didn't really discuss the face-to-face ones, which happened more times than I expected, particularly with bridge jumpers here. I had a lot of those. They kind of became my forte.
That's interesting.
For whatever reason,
holding themselves hostage. I didn't really think about that, but same skill set. But it's just I'm holding me hostage.
Yeah,
I will kill me if you don't do what I say. That's wild.
But anyway, yeah. So I really
so you must miss that.
That's really what I miss.
That's a big mental challenge, a big puzzle to put together, all the time.
Probably not much that compares to the payoff of being successful at that.
Right, but look at what we're doing. You don't think I'm not trying to do the same thing in this show
right now?
Not. I'm trying
out of my brain.
I'm trying to use my thoughts and my words to stimulate people to want to be better in life.
Yeah,
I mean that's really and to think about things, and just remember to have fun,
dude. You can't tip your hand. We're playing poker. Now they know.
Now they know.
I'm good with it. I'm okay with it.
Spoonful of sugar makes the medicine go down. Is that what we're talking about?
Getch is like the war chief. He's like, no, we don't need the element surprise. Call him right now and tell him we're coming. We're coming to kill his ass.
Let's just look at each other on the battlefield and see who fucking breaks. Sounds fair to me. Well, thanks for sharing that, dude. It makes me want to think about, like, the knife thing came to mind. Like, you and I have talked about this for years now, and it was one of those things. You have to meet a police officer to really understand some of the things that the conversation is in the world. It's like, or go on a ride along and just know to ask these questions. But like a knife is super dangerous.
Yeah.
And within a certain amount of space, it's more dangerous than a gun. And as long as the gun's holstered or whatever. But you and I have talked about the 21 foot rule.
Which is now actually the 25-foot
25-foot rule,
Yeah.
yeah. And we explain that just to... Because people are often like, well, why did you show up with a gun? He's got all he had was a knife.
Essentially,
it's like, holy fuck, a knife can be...
If you have a gun on you, accessible, and it actually can be in your hand. If somebody is as far as 25 feet away from you and closer, they have a more likely chance to be able to stab you before you can shoot them. Now, obviously, you may still be able to get a shot off, but the momentum of their body in general, you're still going to get hit and get stabbed.
If your goal is not to get hurt, you're getting hurt. So, yeah.
And shooting somebody from a moving target from 25 feet away, particularly when you're caught off guard, that is not an easy thing to do, even if the gun's in your hand, particularly if they're generally not going to run it a straight line if they even know what they're doing. They're going to run it a curve, then you got to follow that too. So there's a lot of...
And I hadn't been shooting a lot.
Science, too.
And you took me out shooting. And it's hard to hit a goddamn Gatorade bottle from 20 feet away or some shit, however far we were away. It wasn't easy, and it's just sitting there.
It was, yeah, we were
at 7
yards.
So I felt a little bit.
What we were at.
Yeah. So
You didn't set up the Gatorade bottle that was trying to stab him that day?
No, but I had Dave and Angus watch a video where it was a police video where they're just showing this, how easy it is, because police officers are never 25 feet away from the suspect ever. Like maybe in the situation you were in when he was up on the stairs, but he made it close real fast. But it's like they're within feet, like 2-3 feet, or if it's a traffic stop, it's like literally a foot or two. And so I don't think people are... The other one that comes to mind is when people are always saying, why did you need 5 people to get that person down? It's like, you should try putting a 10-year-old to bed.
Right.
If you're trying to put a 10-year-old to bed, you need at least both parents. You're like, to not hurt them, so they don't hurt you and you don't hurt them. And that was mind-blowing too for somebody that's not paying or not looking into it. It was like, oh yeah, it's actually protecting them.
Yeah, it's a lot safer for them.
But to a person that's not, doesn't know anything about it, they're like, you're a bully, you're bullying, you're ganging up on them. And it's like, no.
Yeah.
All of those things.
Well, the fight's not supposed to be,
You're supposed to win as a police,
if
always.
somebody pulls a knife on me, I'm not required to pull a knife out on them.
Right. It's superior firepower.
I'm not supposed to just I'm not required to square off to
Can you
anybody.
imagine? You just have all this arsenal of different types of weapons. Like, what's it going to be today, bad guy?
Pulls out
Hand
a wrench.
grenades?
I hope it's square.
Pulls out a wrench. I'm like, I don't have. Hold on, let me get a wrench.
I got one in the trunk.
What about a screwdriver? Can we compromise?
Is this still fair?
Yeah.
What do you think? I thought of you actually. A couple weeks ago, I had to deal with a dude being sketchy in my backyard, and I went out to talk to him, and he was out there stripping wire for copper, and he was doing it right next to my truck and like putting stuff in the bed of my truck, using it as a table. And I was just like, dude. So I went out there, and I was kind of walking up the other side of my truck, and I said, hey, can I help you with something? He's like, no. And I was like, okay, well, let me rephrase.
What I meant was get the fuck out of my yard.
I'm like, you're stripping wire, making a huge mess in my yard, using my truck as a table. Like, where did you come from? Why are you doing this here? Like, you can't be doing this here. You gotta, I don't care if you're doing it, to be honest, but you need to clean this shit up and do it somewhere else, And like, it occurred to me at that moment that of course he's got a knife because he's out here stripping wire,
right.
But I didn't think about, like, I had a knife with me too, but I'm like, I don't want to get in a fucking knife fight with this guy, like over stripping wire in my backyard. So I'm at the bed of my pickup, and he's like maybe 3 steps away from me at this point, and it kind of clicked in my head, and I was like, so I just like stepped around the bed of my pickup truck, and I was like, I'm at least gonna
keep some
Give
distance
put an
yourself
obstacle in his way if
Yeah.
he decides that this means a lot to him. But it ended up being fine. I had a conversation with him, and we worked it out. Oddly,
Well, you're still here, so I assume a knife
it
fight.
ended with me telling him, hey, what you got left ought to take you about an hour to finish. And does that seem fair? He's like, yeah. And I was like, okay. And I got his name from him and everything, so now we know each other, And I was like,
So now he's gonna hang out in your truck.
I'm like, so here's the deal. I said, finish what you're doing. I'm gonna come out here in an hour and check. And I said, I want this area to be cleaner than it was when you got here. And if that's the case, we won't have a problem.
And he took a big shit right in
No,
your
I
yard.
shit you not, dude. That corner of my yard's never been cleaner.
Nice.
Like, he was true to his word.
Love it.
He finished what he was doing. He cleaned everything up. He found a rake and like raked that corner of my yard.
And by the way, I assumed that the knife fight didn't occur because you don't have any stab wounds, and you haven't asked me to help you bury a body.
I am intact, and he is still alive. Yes, can confirm. Yeah.
I do find that funny that for some reason I am the go-to on if I killed somebody, I would call you to bury a body. I don't know why I have that reputation, but I do.
You seem capable.
You can swing a shovel, buddy.
And more than that, you seem willing.
Fair enough.
Depends on the guy, but yeah, or the gal, for sure.
I would expect you to hide my body if Zach had to kill me.
I would look to either of you to help me bury a body. I don't know why. You guys seem like you know the outdoors pretty good. You know, swing a shovel pretty decently. Well, I feel like I want to just keep going on with the police stuff. We've talked about so much of this stuff. It's hard to even like think of where to go. And we actually did an interview before we started this podcast.
It'll come out someday.
Yeah, it's going to come out soon. But we tackle a lot of this stuff. But one of the things that maybe we could talk about is like, what's a big misnomer about policing that people get? Kind of like the knife thing, or you know why there's so many people involved. But what's the biggest misnomer that people get, or one that comes to mind?
How about you ask me what a misnomer, and I can maybe
which one would be?
Well,
Let's see,
because there's so many. I mean,
right.
The view is so skewed at this point.
If you are doing traffic stops, do you have a quota that you have to fill?
Oh, there we go. That's what we're looking
right
for.
To the traffic
questions. So my normal reply to that would be, we used to, but now we can write as many tickets as we want. And people looking at it like, what?
They used to limit you.
What the fuck?
Well, I think
anyway. So no, the answer is no. That's not a thing. And
I knew the answer, but
municipalities
for, right?
only get 10% of any revenue off of tickets anyway. It all goes to the state. So there's really not an incentive for a local agency to go write a bunch of tickets.
Yeah.
Is it just because they want to? Because they're like, fuck you?
Maybe it's a thing. It's a community thing.
Does it have any effect
complaining on a
the
certain
budget
road
that
or something?
the state gives you, or does the state not really have any?
No.
Yeah. So there you go. Myth busted.
There's a myth busted. I'm trying to think of a couple that we've talked about that we haven't talked about already here.
If you can see something. So like with car, like if you're looking in somebody's car in Washington, you're not allowed to just go into their car, correct?
Not anymore. No.
Even if you see something like
Correct.
sitting on the seat, like
right,
a gun or something.
I could order everybody out of the vehicle, seize the vehicle, write a search warrant
But
for
you
it.
still can't go in the car.
Correct.
Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah, that changed.
What are your feelings on that?
That's Gant versus Arizona.
Arizona versus Gant
versus
is what
Gant.
that stems from. What do I think about that? Well, for the job, it made it really difficult. I didn't like how they started treating vehicles as more like a residence and more covered under Fourth Amendment.
That's more and more the case now, though. A lot of people living in their
Well, so apparently it was premonitive.
Foresight.
Yeah.
Oh, shit. Something about bugs will come up soon. Eating bugs, they'll make it super legal. Of course you can eat bugs. We encourage it. Coming soon.
So yeah, I mean it's a real catch-22 on what the job was versus how my thoughts have changed on things over the years. But the fact is, if you ain't doing shit, that ain't a problem. If you're doing shit, we know, and we're going to find a way to get your shit. That's basically how it works.
Yeah. Right. Well, I came up with a couple. So, like training. I think a lot of times when we have something controversial happen in the news, they're like, well, police need better training and they need this and that. One thing I noticed about knowing you is it's like they require a lot from you guys to be 500, wear a bunch of different hats, medical hat, a psychological hat, a force. You need to be a tough guy. You need to be sensitive. You need to be all these things. It's like, there's a lot of training. Like your whole career is training, isn't it?
Oh, constantly. I mean, you've got your quarterly trainings, which are all different, but that generally gets into some of the driving and the shooting and defensive tactics and patrol procedures, things like that. Shit you need to know. But then there's also almost weekly computer trainings that you have to do, upwards of 8 hours of your time that you've got to.
A week kind of thing?
Yeah,
full day.
Yeah, on who knows, Down syndrome or something, how to deal with somebody with Down syndrome, which the education's good, but it's so overwhelming. It got to the point where in a 12-hour day, 5 to 6 hours of my day went into emails and training on a large scale.
So when people say that the training, they're not trained enough, I mean, there could be some argument saying that they're not doing it right, the training right, for some reason, whatever that is, but I don't know how they know that, but they could know that.
No, I mean, it consistently
But you're certainly
evolves.
getting a lot of training in these kind of things.
Yeah.
Especially when you're trying to move up in policing, right? I mean, that's what happens is you become...
Right.
Like
You
if
go
you want
to
to be a
more- you go to more
negotiator,
training.
you don't just say, okay, go ahead.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, and then you go to entry level trainings, and then it goes on from there.
Right.
And those are all that gets into specialty stuff, But
Another misnomer would be like, one thing I learned from you also is not a lot of people fire their weapons in their career. Like, you just don't.
Well,
what would you say?
Okay, I just had this conversation with another guy that retired the other day. When I started 27 years ago, I can remember meeting the first officer that I had met that had shot somebody. And just that you're in awe, not that you think they're a god for shooting someone. It's just, wow, you were there, you lived through it, you were in a shooting and you survived. That's a big deal.
Yeah.
Like and it made it very real. And again, it's not going to war, it's going to daily life, and then but you're putting yourself in these situations that you choose to, but you might get in a shooting someday.
Yeah.
But it was few and far between 27 years ago that you would meet somebody that even got in a shooting, and most people didn't get in one. But now, and I don't know the numbers on it, but it at least seems to be, it's almost fair to say, at least locally here, if you've been an officer for 5 years, you've probably been involved in an officer-involved shooting.
Wow.
It's just all the time now. And it's not police are getting meaner and worse and less trained and more aggressive. It's society is turning to shit.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the reality. People are getting violent. And it's been going on not just 2 years or 5 years. It's been growing consecutively worse throughout my whole career.
Right. Well, Spokane's gone from, not a lot of gang violence to consistent gang violence constantly. That seems to be one of the big things, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, that's the shootings that are happening
and the
in areas.
population's increasing here. I think we're fifth in the nation for growth.
Are we?
That's a number I heard that I didn't verify. So
well,
maybe I shouldn't
good luck
say
buying a house or renting a house here if you come here.
And Coeur d'Alene, I think, is still number one.
Oh, fuck. Oh, it's so beautiful
I
there.
think.
Yeah.
That's what I heard.
When I worked for Dan, I was like, I'm going to buy a house out here. And that's when everything was like, no, you're not. You're going to need to save a lot more money than you got.
And then we got into numbers and everything, too. I mean, in this area, we have 0.4 deputies per 2,000 people.
Yeah, that's
insane.
It
should be 3. It should be 3.2 per 2,000 people.
Jeez, you guys are way off.
That's what the national standard is. Realistically, if you could get 1 per 2,000 people, you'd be doing great.
Wow, so underfunded, understaffed.
Underfunded. I mean, there's been a whole lot of things going on that didn't just crumble in this year or 2 years. It's been consistent.
Right.
Yeah, it's been very consistent. It started getting bad. I mean, in 2008, from 2008 on, it got worse.
So I got one for you, since it's pick on Jeff o'clock right now. Is there a widely held expectation among members of the force that no matter what your buddy does, who's also a cop, you have to have his back, even if he was wrong?
Oh, the thin blue line. That's
Right,
what you're talking about. Yeah, that's a fucking joke.
Yeah.
No, dude. Cops they get almost rewarded for snitching on somebody. Mm-hmm. I mean, I've watched people advance their careers by doing that. There's no.
So that's
politics.
The opposite.
It's politics, baby.
Yeah, it is. It's all politics out there.
Well, it is government.
Yeah.
Let's not get down that road.
No, what they show just doesn't happen.
Yeah.
It just doesn't happen.
So a lot of things
makes good TV though.
Yeah, makes great TV.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody needs a villain.
Yeah.
And sometimes
everybody loves a villain. Good band.
Everybody does love a villain. Yeah. And yes, they are a good band.
You're welcome, Chris. Hi, Chris. I don't know if he listens. All right. Well, I think we've talked about police stuff pretty heavily. I could talk to you about it all day. And again, we'll save some of this stuff for the interview.
We'll revisit.
Yeah,
for sure.
But thanks for sharing that stuff.
Yeah,
that's crazy. Now, why don't we talk about something completely different?
And now for something completely different.
That's right. So how about steroids and baseball? I know neither of you guys are huge baseball fans.
I love baseball. Never really tried steroids, but I'm game. Is that what we're doing?
Do you think you could play professionally now if you took steroids? Currently, right
98
now.
mile an hour fastball.
I don't think I could play professional tiddlywinks at this point in my life.
Samesies. But my question is, so without knowing a whole bunch about it or whatever, I'm sure you guys both know some about it. And
I don't know shit about it.
But it's not on your radar as much. But
educate me.
So a bunch of baseball players broke a bunch of records in the aughts, the late 90s, early aughts. and
I love that. The aughts.
The aughts.
So
just
good.
a toss away.
Everything has like a 90s every decade. 80s, 90s, 70s.
The O's.
The aughts.
The O's. But a few players started breaking the big records of baseball. Baseball stats are like the main thing for baseball fans. It's the sacred cows. And so Babe Ruth's record fell because Mark McGwire beat it by a fuckload. Actually, did I say Babe Ruth? I meant Roger Maris. Roger Maris's home run record was broken by a fuckload because Mark McGwire took steroids. And a bunch of other players took steroids. Pitchers... Basically.
Now, I have a question on the steroids for Mark McGwire because I actually never knew the answer. Was he actually taking steroids, or was it there was what they considered anabolics within the supplements that he was taking?
I think that's what it was.
Because if that's it, that's total fucking bullshit too. Because
so.
there was a growth within the fitness industry that went right along with that. Mm-hmm. So they weren't doing anything that nobody else was.
It wasn't illegal
when
they started doing it either. Yeah, but then when it became illegal after the Mark McGwire thing, that's when we saw Barry Bonds and a bunch of other players also accelerate, and then Barry Bonds broke the record as well.
Now, do I really believe it was just as supplements? No, probably not.
If I took steroids and practiced every day for the rest of my, at the time of 20, I still wouldn't be able to hit a baseball like Barry Bonds. So my question, I guess, fundamentally is, these players that took steroids, they cheated to get ahead. Should they be allowed to get the accolades of their success?
Well,
should they be in the Hall of Fame?
So I have a question before I can even begin to try to answer that. And I probably still will give a shitty answer, but
shut you up, nerd.
Sit in your corner. So, how is there a way, or has it been done? Is there a way to measure how much of a difference steroids actually make? And addendum to that question, when you say steroids, are there just you take here is your steroid pill, or
right.
what are there different methods of taking steroids, or what's I don't know shit about this, so
I don't know that much about it either, but there's think needle in the gym, but there's other ways to do steroids too.
Needle of what?
A needle of growth hormones of an animal of some kind, horse growth hormones.
I don't know shit about steroids, honestly.
To building more muscle than you would normally be able to?
More muscle, but really I think it allows you to work out harder. And
you heal faster. Yeah. I think it helps you retain more water for healing, and I don't know, probably has something to do with
what's the downside?
Glycogen.
I want you. So from what you just described, to
downside is
I can
give myself
now.
A shot and be a super soldier. I'm ready. Sign me
downside is it's really bad for your arteries and your heart.
Does it shrink your penis?
Yeah, there's myth and theory of that, but I don't know.
I think it's about your testicles.
Personally.
I think it reduces something in that vein. Yeah. I think you turn into a horse. So maybe you get a giant horse cock, but you produce baby.
I'm still not seeing
horses.
The downside.
Well, in baseball, they don't want you to cheat. And so they look at that as some players, Ken Griffey Jr. also had amazing seasons during that time. He didn't cheat. And that's,
I see that argument personally, but again, it comes down to how much of a difference does it make? And then at that point,
good question.
What if it is allowed and then some guys choose to and some guys don't? Question mark?
Right.
So just because you didn't choose to do the best training program available for one reason or another, does that give you the right to bitch about not being able to perform at the level of the people that chose that program?
Right. And I have something to add to that, which kind of agrees with that. Two-prong. One, I had this idea. I really wanted to do bodybuilding at some point in my 50s. I thought it would be awesome. But then I realized myself, I wanted to win. And if I want to win, I have to do steroids. I had to make a decision. That's not really a road I want to go down because I'm also doing this for my health.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to take it a different direction, but still be healthy. So I left. The athletes that I know that have played professional sports and, were only in for a couple years and got out, they have all told me basically that they chose not to do steroids, and everybody is doing steroids. And if you don't do steroids, you can't compete. So the reality, at least now, I'd say within the last 10 years, is the saturation of steroids within professional sports is through and through. And if you don't do it, you're not going to last very long. So if everybody's at the same level of steroids, well, then I guess we're good.
Do you think money's the prime motivator for
yes. that? Well, some of it. Think about it.
There's a certain level of prestige that comes along with being able to say you're the best at something. I get that. But if you know that it's harming your body in some way, or maybe taking years off your life, depending, like if it's, because it sounds like you start talking like it damages your arteries and shit, that's like heart attack city from what I understand.
Well,
you know,
sacrificing your health for whatever success I mean, sumo wrestlers aren't healthy, but that's the national sport of Japan.
Musicians aren't fucking healthy.
We're not, for sure. I want to say this, like with baseball players, there's the superstar athletes that got in trouble that broke all the records, but like you said, all of them were doing steroids. What about a player that, you know, not most of them aren't superstars or even all-stars. Most of them are just like, God, I want that $400,000, $500,000, whatever minimum they get a year, and they're going between AAA and the majors. Mm-hmm. And so if steroids are like the difference between I make $60,000 a year or $30,000 a year, and I'm not in the big show,
versus
or
half a mil,
and I got my kids, and so Ken Griffey Jr. I think was the one that brought that up in an interview, and it was like fucking. We got to take that into consideration because it's a huge deal. It's like, what will you do for your family, kind of thing.
Well, and the other misnomer about
sacrifice your body. Almost most of the people I know are like, yeah, I would sacrifice my body for my family.
Sorry about that.
No.
The other misnomer about steroids is everybody just assumes you're on steroids. You're some big jacked monster who's got this, you know, micropene and over-aggression, and that's just that's just not a fact either. Because it kind of goes back to what your question. There are different steroids that you can take. Now, I don't know shit
like
about them.
The 80s steroids seem like they're different than the
or what the combinations are,
so.
But you can take different combinations of steroids to achieve different things. And some people, maybe they just want to heal faster and be able to have greater endurance. So they're going to be smaller, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're not on steroids.
Right.
So,
you know.
So there's no magic pill or shot that you can take that means you don't really have to work for it.
Motherfucker, everybody want to
awesome.
Everybody want to be a bodybuilder. Nobody want to lift them heavy weights.
But
I don't care.
You have to, even if steroids or not.
Even if you take steroids, if somebody's up there and up on stage, I still have fucking respect for them because I know what they had to go through. Okay, they took enhancing drugs. I don't give a shit. Yeah. That's a risk that I'm not willing to take that they are. But I still know the dedication in diet and exercise and lifting weights and discipline that they still had to go through.
Well, how about what about a lawyer at law school? To be in the top 1% of law school, you have to work really, really hard. So
just take a lot of Adderall, right?
Exactly. So people that are taking speed,
fighter pilots.
There you go. So why is it for baseball players? It's a
loggers,
billion-dollar industries.
You know.
Billions of dollars go through there. It is the most watched.
I think it's more sticky for people because it's a competitive sport, and your level of ability to compete directly correlates to the opportunities and the money that you're afforded. You know, so I think that's, and the argument that I've heard is, well, these people that didn't take performance enhancing drugs, they worked their whole life to get to where they are, but there's no way they can compete without having to take this risk or, you know, do this thing to their body. So that robs them of what they would have achieved otherwise.
And it's actually a valid argument as well.
I get that argument, you know. So
it's a total valid argument. But why baseball? Why are we hitting baseball hard now? I mean, are they?
Congress loves baseball.
I do love baseball. It's a gentleman's game.
Is it because they are public figures?
Because a gentleman's
polo.
Is it because they're made public figures that they're now held to this higher standard?
Congress got involved. I should say
there you go.
Congress weighed in, and they wanted to make
fucking federal government.
The Congress is going to decide who
they were
in
really
the Hall
upset.
of Fame.
I told you baseball stats are very important, but not the Hall of Fame, but the kitty butthole on the records and stuff. And it's not illegal to do steroids in the world, right? I mean, maybe steroids are illegal in some form, but in sports, just in competition.
If you're going by our state, I think anything's a go.
That's right.
You just can't sell it.
Right, but it's not like cocaine and shit.
What about
fentanyl?
Sorry, as an aside, is fentanyl good to go too, just for taking it?
Yeah, you can take. Yeah, you can take as much as you want. You can kill yourself if you want.
What about morphine? Like, what about?
Yeah, I mean, you can get your hands on it.
That's what I mean. Like, if you
come
can
to
just
Washington,
get a whole
it's not illegal to possess
all the drugs.
Wild.
It's not illegal to possess.
That's wild.
It's illegal to sell it to you.
I'm super interested to see how that turns out.
We are once again the experiment going on here in Washington. Fucking,
it's a great idea.
Crazy. Yeah. Well, one thing about the baseball thing is that kids are watching, and a lot of kids do look up to baseball players. And whether remember Charles Barkley, I'm not a role model and all that stuff, but they are. And so a lot of people look at baseball and the cheating, and they say, well, now our teenage kids in high school are going to want to do steroids to get into the big leagues or just to be good at high school baseball.
You don't get
And
to
then
not
there's-
be a role model by saying I'm not a role model.
I know.
You don't get to pick.
Charles Barkley, he tried, and then a bunch of people were like, "Yeah, I'm not a role model either," as they're just normal guys, and it's like they
Well,
copied
you're
you,
actually
Charles.
not. You're right.
You're right, but you have the same attitude as Charles. So I don't know, but I don't know. What about the kids watching baseball? I mean, is that the baseball player's responsibility? Does it matter? Because that's part of it too. That's part of the debate. These are, supposedly people that we put on a pedestal because they are famous baseball players.
Isn't that a
athletes.
parent's responsibility to keep that
I think
reality and morality
That was Charles
in
Barkley's
check?
point. Yeah,
not theirs?
yeah. Okay, fair enough. We tackled two things there.
Bam.
So steroids in baseball. Well, what do you guys think? Should they be allowed to do steroids?
Yeah, I don't care.
And should Barry Bonds be allowed?
It makes for. You know what I want? Entertainment. You know what I don't want in my sports? Politics. But give me all the entertainment you got. And if that means a bunch of meth and steroids involved, it's going to be an entertaining.
Gladiators, then fuck yeah.
That's
I'm
going
for
to be
that
an entertaining games.
Yeah.
Well,
I think where I land on it is as long as it's all voluntary and above the table. You know what I mean? Like, because it feels dirty and underhanded if it's like well, here's the rules you agreed to, and I guess everybody's mostly breaking them. Then it's like, okay, well, so then either the rule needs to change or everybody needs to change. You know what I mean?
Right.
So like, if we could just make it above board, like, hey, it's fine. You can do it. If you choose to do it, you can do it. Then I say fuck yeah. As long as everybody's entering into it voluntarily, then I think I don't have a problem with it.
This is kind of a weird one, but what about stats? So as a stat nerd, it's like, would it be silly to have, say Ken Griffey Jr. again, where it's demonstrable he didn't do steroids, and people were trying to keep up with him by doing steroids? Should he get, even though his career didn't last as long as other players did, and his numbers didn't balloon like they could have if he would have done steroids? Should his numbers get like a little asterisk by them? It's like, I didn't take steroids.
I think it should be indicated for sure. That's what I mean. If it's above board, like it's like, hey, this guy has these stats, and then they're in a certain color. That means
right. Fuck yeah.
Like if it's red.
Problem fucking solved.
And
dope.
and again,
I mean, I feel like that would enhance the stats.
But
because you'd have people that are purists, that are like, oh, I only give a shit. Like, fuck you, and you're a fan of all those guys that did steroids. These are the real legends right here. These guys that are
Babe
highlighted
Ruth doing
in
cocaine
black,
and shit or whatever the fuck.
but are you allowed to go case by case basis? Because let's go back to Mark McGuire. Now, neither of us know if he really was doing steroids or not, or was it a metabolic steroid detected within a supplement that he purchased from a store.
I wish I knew the answer
and that
to
he
that.
loved. That was the argument. I don't know if it's the truth or not. It doesn't sound right to me based on what I saw and what I remember.
Right. What I heard.
But
him
let's
say was
pretend for a
just
second that it is.
everybody was doing it.
But he's still getting punished for steroids. But that was in something of his, not of his own doing. He purchased a workout supplement product that worked amazing for him.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, it sounds, when I say it, it just sounds like total bullshit. I almost can't come out of my mouth.
I didn't do coke at that party. Somebody blew it in my face.
Right.
So good. How could it be bad for me?
God damn it. Let me keep to this fucking argument.
No, I see where you're going, and I like it. I know where you're going. Go ahead.
So, but then does he? If that really was the case, does he get punished for something that he didn't actually do, even though he did?
I don't think it should be. No.
Yeah, that's like my dime.
Put before a jury of his peers.
I think we should be out of people's business in that. It's probably none of our business. If you want to be a sumo wrestler, you have to eat a fuckload of food, and you have to put yourself. I mean, I'm sure they do it as healthily as possible, but you're trying to build
Probably not.
giant. Yeah.
I don't know a lot of healthy 600-pound people. I got to be honest with you.
And there's not a lot of older 600-pound people. You
Right.
don't live a long. Yeah.
Right.
So, anywho.
You don't see the
Same issue with steroids.
The old sumo with the big spindly beard.
Right, like giving advice.
Everybody's
at 85.
like, "How
It's
did
just,
Warren Miller die so young?" Or whoever.
Who?
Not Warren Miller. Was that?
He's a skier, I think. Warren Miller's a skier, right?
I don't know. He's a football player, isn't he?
Warren Sapp. Warren Sapp.
I don't know.
He's thinking Warren Sapp. Did Warren Sapp pass away?
I don't know.
He was a big boy.
There's been a lot of Earl Campbell. He died
Campbell?
young.
He was a running back though. They're in good shape.
He was one that was like, I never worked out a day in my life. I think.
Oh
Wasn't
shit, but it could be.
It's like, yeah, you didn't, but you did steroids for sure because you died really young and you were in amazing shape.
Yeah, fair enough.
I hope that's not the case, but
What about Big Black from Robin Big?
Oh yeah, did he pass?
He died. Yeah.
Oh no, I like that show.
R.I.P.
Ish.
I grew up on that shit, man.
Yeah. What is that?
you ever watch Robin
Do
Big,
work.
Jeff?
I don't even know what the hell it is.
Rob
It's an
Dyrdek,
MTV show.
He's a skater that became an MTV host, and yeah,
It was
him and his best buddy was just a really, really big black dude, and he was hilarious.
Yeah, he was. They
I
call him
loved
big.
that show.
And it was a skating show then?
Kinda. It was more like it was like a mix of a skating show and like MTV's Cribs, but it was only their crib.
Yeah, he had already made
It
his
was their
money.
1-bedroom apartment.
Yeah, it was like
No,
a
it was
reality
cool.
show,
He
and they
had
would
like
come
a-
up with goofy things. Yeah, he was
He had
wealthy.
like a dream factory, like he had his own like skate park in his house, and
Wow.
Yeah,
It was pretty weird.
It was awesome.
All right,
Yeah,
so
he had a mini horse in his house also.
I think I remember that. Yeah. Big.
Anyway,
Fucking do
weird-
work.
weird
Gotta do
tangent.
work. So steroids in baseball, fucking go for it. And the guy should be in the Hall of Fame. I like your idea. Color coding things. We're in the 21st century. We can color code everything.
I feel like that would only enhance statistics. Like statistics nerds just like higher
More.
levels of
Yeah,
complication. So it's
exactly.
like, oh, we just added a whole new system of demarcation. Fuck yeah.
I would love to go through the baseball stats and be like,
they'll be
oh,
like,
the red.
oh, man, that's fucked up.
Who led the league without
that would interest
steroids?
me. I don't even give a shit about baseball stats, but I'd love to go in and see who was doping and who wasn't, and
Yeah.
what the difference was. Like that'd be
That could
fun.
And then just
certainly
don't punish them,
plummet the
just
value
different.
of some cards out there. Somebody finally gets in the Hall of Fame, but they got an asterisk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It would
fuck
probably
it.
drop their
Oh, it would, yeah.
value.
Maybe.
It would.
Unless it was the first one with an asterisk. then
Maybe,
it would
but there's
got to
be plenty of people out there that are like, go team, do the steroids, so that maybe those people want it more then.
Could be.
Maybe the value stabilizes. Maybe
That
it
is
goes
how
up.
baseball cards are. Is like, what? I don't know. Well, now that's worth more money now.
Yeah.
All right.
It's
so,
all a matter of what one guy will pay for it, in
Exists.
theory.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, I collected cards for years. I had a baseball card shop, and it was weird.
I
It's-
still collect Magic cards,
fuck yeah.
dude, and
It's your retirement.
That's my closet thing that I do. I'm like,
Welcome
every
to-
time I
Was-
every
was
time I
your
spend
closet
money
thing
on it,
until
I'm
about
like,
10
I'm
seconds
like,
ago.
Oh man, what?
Said it was your closet thing
Yeah.
until about
Yeah,
10
no, it's
seconds
not.
ago.
I'm out of the closet once again.
Hopefully, the people that you don't want to hear this aren't listening.
Mm-hmm.
That'll be all right. So let's move on, since we've talked about steroids and the baseballs, to something that Jeff is way into, and that is Star Wars.
Yes,
And I'm
tell
curious.
us all about Star Wars.
Yeah.
I went to, I will. In 1977, I was
hear it.
forced to go to this show, and I remember the shit,
talked
these
about
words
this here,
going
I
up on
think.
the screen, and I'm like, oh my God, I got to watch this for how long?
Oh,
And
you
was
gave it
like-
a chance
And
at
then it
least.
got halfway through, and he was jerking off. Like, why is this so hot?
I think
I
fell
love
asleep. It was
gold
like
droids.
3 hours of my life I could never get back. I had nightmares.
So how do you feel about Disney owning Star Wars? Because that was going to be my
I don't
question.
even understand.
So
Why?
it didn't used to be owned by Disney. It used to be owned by George Lucas himself and his
Okay.
company. And then he sold it for billions of dollars to Disney. And now, over the last decade or so, Disney's, or a little less than that, Disney has
Yeah,
been
it hasn't
making
been a decade.
controversial movies for the fandom. And Star Wars fans are the most toxic of
what the
fans.
fuck is a fandom?
It is
Is
a...
that Mickey Mouse where he's got the funny hat on? Where he's got the little pointy hat on?
It's a kingdom of fans.
That's a better version of it. But
Well,
yeah,
that's
it's
the word.
basically it's dumber than that. It's a
kingdom, but it's
a group of
populated
us.
entirely by
So it
fans.
could potentially be a bad thing that he sold
Well, they've made a bunch of
everything
movies.
to Disney.
Yes. Well, they
Okay.
changed the heart. Of
How is
Star
it negative
Wars,
in your
perhaps.
life, and how does it affect your children?
Because Star Wars is very important to a lot of people. That's why it's worth billions of dollars. Is because it's a part of people's lives, and some people a lot more than others. Apparently, Jeff. God, don't even give a shit, bro.
Does it cost you any money?
Well, I am an investor in Disney Plus. I have that, and so I like
So it's
quality
good that
for
it's
my
on Disney
Plus.
'cause you get to
Basically
see
a
him now.
shareholder on the
I
board of
basically
executives.
they ask me my opinion, and I tell them, and they listen exactly to what I say.
Okay, so you get more Star Wars because Disney owns it.
We do.
So
We've
it's a good
gotten
thing.
way more Star Wars.
So it's a good thing.
It is if you. I mean, if
Except for
if
that
quantity
the
is about,
content that they're producing is trash.
it's quality quantity thing.
Well, maybe because the fucking story got burned out back in 1977.
That's the thing about
No.
Star Wars is there could never run out of
Here's
stories
the
in
thing.
Star Wars.
Here's the
Never
I think
ever.
they can.
I'm
No,
about to
no.
rant. I'm about to
There's
rant.
a
boys.
bajillion
I can't,
planets.
I can't hold it in anymore. I'm
All right.
about to rant. This is
Let
what's
it go.
going on, Okay,
Let it go.
So here, I'm going to preface this by saying that Star Wars as a story, even the original trilogy, and this is going to gain me some enemies, I know, but even in the original trilogy, the story is kind of shit.
Yeah.
Like the
It's the hero's journey.
Any Star Wars movie, the story, the writing is kind of like.
So,
Oh, yeah.
so what I hear, what I hear you
but-
saying,
great
is you
actors.
agree with me.
But
We do.
But
But yeah.
the idea of Star Wars is what people fall in love with, myself included. I love the ethos and the environment, and I like to create my own imaginative stories within the framework that George Lucas.
So similarly, then people love the idea of falling in love. However, they keep continuously getting into shitty relationship after shitty relationship.
With Disney, yes.
People love
Same.
the idea of Star Wars, yet they keep watching shitty movie after shitty movie. Just
Not all of them have been
that
shitty.
One of these will be amazing.
Excellent analogy.
That is pretty good.
Yep, that's actually very accurate, I think. So, but the problem is, The problem is, I think that's why Star Wars fans are so toxic, is because they have this. they have they're like they have this idea of all the amazing things that could be done, and it's fueled by the fact that there have been volumes upon volumes of books that have been written that are awesome.
Right.
Like, they actually take it and exploit it and make it like the books. If you're a real Star Wars fan and you want some good shit, go read the books. There's tons of them, and
starting with Timothy Zahn.
Most of them slap. Yes,
I got to be honest with you. My 8th grade education, there's words in there I probably couldn't pronounce.
Yeah, you'd figure it out.
You get it.
Most of them.
It's like having taco stuff, all the stuff to make tacos, and then they bring the taco to you, and they're like, it's the new thing of tacos, and you eat it, and you're like, why the fuck are there raisins in the tacos? Why did you put raisins in the taco? I don't understand why there's fruit in the taco. And they're like, well, because we're Disney, and we decided to do a different taco. And you're like, no, we want the fucking taco.
It's such bitter disappointment, too, for me, because you look at what Disney did with the Marvel movies, and as a kid who read comics, I'm like, it's not really like the comics, but like for just taking superhero movies pre the Marvel Cinematic Universe to now, Disney fucking kicked ass with making those movies cool. They're cool.
Yeah.
They're really fun to watch, and some of them have really good plot lines too.
Right.
Winter Soldier, that's one of my favorites.
Is that a Joss Whedon one?
That was it might have been. I don't know. Actually, I'm not sure who directed that one. But point being, Disney did a good service to that industry. Like you watch old Tobey Maguire Spider-Man versus Marvel movies now, and it's like, fuck yeah, upgrade. But with Star Wars, that wasn't the case. Like, it's just so riddled with crap. Like, crap writing, crap character development, crap continuity. They didn't even come up with a good bad guy. They scabbed together an old one who was supposed to already have been dead and nobody cared to see again, really.
Right.
They created a bad guy, but then they just killed him off in a weird and stupid way.
So I have some questions. How long has Disney been in charge of the Star Wars now?
I'm going to say 6-7 years.
This didn't just happen. This is
2014.
Okay.
It's been a minute.
How many
They've made a whole trilogy.
How many movies?
And TV shows as well.
How many
probably
movies
5,
have
6
they actually
movies.
come out?
5. But then they've also done series where it's
you're right, because of like Rogue
One.
Okay.
Rogue One and
and Solo.
Prior to that, how many Star Wars movies were out?
6.
So 6. So they've doubled the amount of shows plus series.
Oh yeah,
They've created more content.
When was the last good Star Wars movie?
Jeff's got good questions.
Debatable.
Yeah, that is debatable.
I'll let you go first, Zach. What do you think?
1983.
So here's the ones.
No, I really liked Revenge of the Sith. I actually liked Phantom Menace.
I'm a prequel trilogy guy.
I
all
like.
day.
I do.
think
I like
they were
them.
the best ones, and even with the shitty acting,
I don't care. They're great.
and even with Jar Jar Binks, I understand. Both
So
of
we
those
went
were
like
crap,
this.
but I think they're the best.
I'm asking Star Wars, Empire Strikes Back, and then what was the third
Return
one?
of the Jedi.
Return of the Jedi,
yep.
and then there was the trilogy after that, which was prequels to Star Wars.
which were the best.
Okay.
I'll go with that.
And
I really
will
do.
say-
I mean, Qui-Gon Jinn by himself, and then Darth
Hell yeah.
Maul. Fuck yeah.
Liam Neeson.
Fuck yeah.
I did actually go see the first prequel as an
clean
adult,
here.
taking
As
children.
an adult.
And it was... I could not wait for that fucking movie to be
It was a
over.
little long
It was
for a
goddamn.
non-Star Wars fan.
Yeah, but
Torture.
we've already established that your imagination
but I tried.
is castrated, and it's not your fault.
Yeah.
I wish I could help you.
I seriously tried to get into the movie, and I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
That's all right.
So
you don't care if Disney does whatever the fuck.
I don't
They put
give a
Mickey Mouse
fuck.
as Darth Vader.
it sounds like they haven't done shit, but it really doesn't sound like anything was very good since the 80s anyway.
There's some good stuff involved in Star Wars, but it's on the fringes. Like Shaiden was saying, like the book world is so many great stories, and people have gravitated.
So
great
it's
writers
because
to
it
them.
doesn't follow the book that pisses people off. I understand.
No. These books don't get made into movies. They're just people that are playing with like the reason why Star Wars is cool is because any nerd would love to have created this for themselves. Like everybody's like, fuck, he beat us to it, because all it is just adventures in space. And that's countless fucking story
It's
things.
Space Samurai.
It's with magic.
With
Sure, it's whatever you
politics.
can.
Yeah, and politics and stuff. And so it makes this world, and George Lucas did a good job, and his producers and stuff, of fleshing out this world that really feels lived in, even though it's completely
Great
fantastic.
world building, the execution and follow through were
Impossible.
arguably poor.
So
Yeah,
understand,
probably impossible.
respect of the art, totally not my thing.
yeah.
You know, I respect people that can do ballet. I don't like to sit and watch it.
Sure.
That's fair.
Yeah.
It's a very
We're not
adult
giving you
opinion.
shit. Yeah.
I'm giving you shit. Fuck you.
Yeah.
Don't talk about Star Wars like that.
But the fandom is very toxic, and it's gotten more toxic.
Did you ever see that interview with Ewan McGregor talking about Star Wars fans?
A recent one or a past one?
No, it's been years ago now, but it kind of went viral because he got a lot of shit for it because he said what did he say? He didn't say cunts, but he said Star Wars fans are like
Cunts.
a bunch of assholes or something. He might have said cunts, I don't know, but it was something pretty harsh. Or he was like, I can't stand them. You know, he's like people that are fans of Star Wars are the worst because they have no sense of boundaries. They will come up to me at the most inappropriate. Yeah, and he's like, he just went on this tirade about, it wasn't long, but
Dude, I get it.
He really let him have it, and people were like, Obi-Wan, fuck off! Like, how dare you?
chosen one.
You were the chosen one.
I get it if there is.
Ewan McGregor's like, I have the high ground.
If they're as
He
crazy
was
as,
right. He did.
as it seems like they are, yeah, I can imagine what his life was after making the movie.
He painted a pretty
well. They weren't.
pretty
They
awful
weren't.
picture.
They weren't taken well either. That's the thing. They were the most hyped movie was that Phantom Menace, the one that you went and saw with the Patrons, and it got shit reviews. It couldn't live up to the hype. George Lucas, like before he started writing it, was like, they're gonna hate it. They hated all the other ones too. It's not for them. It's for me, and it's for kids. And it's like they're gonna fucking not get it. And then he goes and types, and then they literally like destroyed two people's careers and lives from that movie. The guy that played Jar Jar Binks, who's not even seen, it's just his voice, but he got destroyed, and his career was basically ruined. Ahmad Best, I think is his name.
True.
And then the kid that played the little kid, Jake, whatever.
Yeah.
Ruined his life. Like I don't even know if he's alive anymore. I know that he went through like
Don't tell me he died.
dependencies.
I don't need
I'm not
that.
sure. I'm not
I don't
sure.
need to hear that today.
Somebody can tell me, but I
Poor
know
little Annie.
I know Annie went down the wrong path. He took the dark side, but they
man.
forced him down there because the fans.
Well, Hayden Christensen's doing okay.
Yeah, it's weird though because he got a ton of shit for saying the worst lines in cinema history, probably about sand and some of that shit.
But the sand, so many good memes.
Yeah,
So many good
if
memes.
they would have known that the memeage would have been grade A,
So
they would have
good.
been like, it's fine. But then they just recently Disney made a Obi-Wan series where they had like 5 or 6
Haven't watched
episodes.
it yet.
It's all right. It's pretty good.
Is it okay?
Yeah, but everybody was
trust your
super.
opinion.
I mean, I'm not. I'll talk about it off air.
Okay.
Well, yeah, it's
Fair
not my favorite, but Hayden Christensen was like celebrated. They're like, yes, they're bringing back the original the original Anakin Skywalker, and it's like, you fucking assholes. He hasn't worked a goddamn day since like one movie after Star Wars, and now you're like, oh, come on back to us.
They pulled him from behind a dumpster in an alleyway, and they were like,
It's like,
come on, buddy.
You were cunts to that guy. He had such a promising future.
He had a
and
long,
you-
scraggly beard that I still imagine he can't grow.
He's just got Star Wars-based signs and a non-growable beard.
It's all patchy.
Fuck.
Poor
So
Hayden.
anywho,
Hey, I was a fan, buddy. You got crap lines, but
he was
you did
working
your
with Jar Jar
best.
Binks. I mean,
know.
his co-star was a
you
fucking
imagine?
animatron or whatever. It was a fucking CGI guy.
Yeah.
The first ever CGI character.
So here,
Fuck.
can I just get this off my chest and then I'll let it go and we can move on before Jeff slips into a catatonia here. So considering just the newest trilogy since Disney had it, since that was the original point of discussion, I have some problems with not feeling like they didn't live up to what they could have done with it, but more than that, I feel like they did, for a company that is as strapped and has the chops that Disney has come to have, they did such a crap job with production and writing, and that's my biggest beef with it. Like there's
that fucking knife. It's like this
dude.
This knife is a symbol that.
So Jeff,
that's
there
so
was
dumb.
a knife that had these like etched stuff on one side, and this total Mary Sue of a main character who always just had powers for no fucking reason that she didn't earn. She's like on this planet, and they're like, it's supposed to find this secret artifact, right? And she holds up this knife like, oh,
just randomly.
I'm just gonna hold it up to the horizon.
Well, so she's like a water witch.
Yeah, it matches up to the wreck of this spaceship just perfectly.
They could have moved at any point.
I'm like, so only if you're standing in that fucking spot and that ship never fucking moved and the water level didn't go up or down would that work, and you just expect us to believe
if you did that in a writing workshop, the teacher would be like,
laughed out.
Write that again.
You'd be laughed out.
Yeah, that's why it was
failed.
That's why it was offensive.
Like, that's what I mean. The whole thing seemed like it was insulting our intelligence or trying to make a statement.
Yeah, because I'm sure everything else in Star Wars seems totally logical and reasonable.
Well,
you know, Jeff,
it wasn't that blatant though.
I want a lightsaber despite how fucking illogical and impossible it may be. We're getting closer every decade to lightsaber.
We are. It's actually impossible, I think.
I think it is.
I got to listen to you guys talk about something so ridiculously unreal when you're talking about fucking Star Wars. That was amazing.
What's your favorite movie, Jeff?
Oh, Shaiden.
True Romance.
Okay, so let's say Disney bought the rights to that estate.
That would be really interesting if you've ever seen that movie.
Yeah, but just hypothetically.
Hey, kids.
Even not just Disney, but a company that had tons of fucking money and people working for them. And they made a sequel, and the plot was total trash, and they brought back a bunch of your old favorite characters from the first movie just to kill them or make fun of them. Would you feel like it was a bit of an affront to your
just a little bit? If you cared even a touch, if you cared just a little bit about that movie, you say it's your favorite. Wouldn't it be like that's kind of like shitting on the first one, isn't it, a little bit?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, you know.
I mean, I wouldn't.
That's a good analogy.
I'm not losing sleep over it, but it
right.
It bothers me because I'm like, man, you guys really screwed the pooch. Like you could have done so much better.
Actually, I was thinking about how many awesome actors would come back from the dead.
Oh yeah,
there's a lot of dead actors in that movie.
Oh yeah, but that thing they did with Carrie Fisher, that was uncomfortable for me.
It was,
right?
It was weird.
Why you should have just let her get sucked out into space and killed her.
Yeah,
like that would have been fine.
That was weird.
Because she died in real life, is what happened. She died during the filming of the second movie, if I'm not mistaken.
They like tried to...
And then they brought her back in the third movie, and they used pieces of some of her dialogue that she did in the second movie, and then they filled in the rest with CGI. And it was just this weird, disjointed conversation that the main character had with a chick that everybody knew was dead in real life, and she was CGI'd not great.
And you know what? They were probably
especially the first.
It was like Weekend at Bernie's, but creepy. You know, it's like, oh, let's just prop up this dead lady that a lot of people loved, despite her, you know, issues that she had in life, and just move her mouth for her. Instead of just killing off her character, like that would have been the respectfful thing to do.
I agree with that 100%.
But you know that their intent was to show. I mean, you don't know. But the other side of that is the intent could be in their mind to keep her and use these clips in this other movie to show respect for her and her being gone. And it totally being misperceived.
I do think it was their intention
I think that's what they're thinking.
To pay homage to her with that. But it's
also a $100 million movie.
It so came across as the opposite.
It was not interpreted that way.
There's a right way and a wrong way to do that shit, man. Like the tribute to Paul Walker at the end of the Fast and Furious after he died was awesome. Like it literally almost made me cry just because I grew up with those movies and I was like, bro, like my God, you know. But and there was like they just sort of used some of his old footage and shit, you know, but like it was good. It was very obvious that they were like setting the movie aside. They did it after the credits. They were like, you know, here's, you know, our guy, you know, he's been in every movie and he's dead, and you know, here's our tribute to him. That's cool. What they did with Carrie Fisher was like kind of insulting and gross and uncomfortable, I thought. It's just how it came across to me.
The new Ghostbusters did a good job of tributing the fallen Ghostbuster, the guy that Harold Ramis.
Did they? I haven't seen it.
Yeah. They did a good job. It's the exact opposite of what they did in Star Wars. Yeah. They did that to Grand Tarkin, the guy that played Grand Moff Tarkin too in Rogue One.
Oh yeah.
But it wasn't as badly done. I don't know why.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't.
And it was done earlier, I think, wasn't it? Or could have been about the same time.
No, it was earlier because that was the third movie that they did that with Carrie Fisher, and Rogue One came out after the first movie.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're right. So they did a better job earlier. Yeah. Who knows?
Anyway, now you know what we do when we are not around, Jeff.
Yeah, when you aren't there to temper our nerd.
Same shit you do when I am around.
All right, let's move it on down the line to our reasonable party. I liked somebody wrote in and said reasonable party. I like that. But reasonableist party is what we've been going with for a while.
We'll probably the reasonabelistists.
That'd be reasonable. The reasonabelistists is what we first, I think, initially called it because we're dorks.
I think we should call it the Reasonabelites.
Reasonabelites, reasonable acolyte, the reasonable.
Only Reasonabelites live
idiots.
in my reasonabledom.
The party that doesn't approve of a party.
That's right. The anti-party. We're the anti-party.
The anti-party.
I like that. It's like anti-hero. We're all dead.
We're the Batman of fucking political parties. But we don't have any money. Let's get that money rolling in.
All right.
Let's start getting them coffers full.
So yeah, we'll be starting a Patreon if you want.
We are soon. But the Reasonabelistist party, we've talked about quite a few things so far. But we wanted to talk just kind of overall as like a tenet of the thing about social issues. And none of us agree, or none of us think that we should have social issues as part of what the government does. I mean, I'm an anarchist, so I'm like, I don't think government should exist, but I'm a reasonableist in this case, and I know that's not going to happen in my lifetime. So how do we make it so there's less government in places that it really shouldn't be anyway?
Can we define social issues?
Things that government shouldn't be part of.
Okay.
Things that people should be able to do privately, I think, is where there are decisions that are based more on personal things. And
raising their kids, whether or not they decide to do drugs, mowing their lawn.
Yeah, we've talked about some of these. Marriage is a social
Drinking
issue.
and driving.
Abortion is probably a social issue, I think. We don't need to talk about that one today, but those are social issues, and government seems to just come in and confuse the issue at the very best.
Even mental health is now.
But
government seems to be pushing their way into that.
Right. Although there's a lot of medication going on there
especially
too.
in Canada. Did you guys see that weirdness?
Huh.
About so you're like you're legally allowed to go in and have
Kill yourself.
medically assisted suicide.
Yeah.
Oh,
citing depression as a reason.
we had discussed
Yeah,
that on
I'm
an earlier
depressed and I would
show.
like to die, and the doctors in Canada are now obligated to be like, okay, we'll help you do that.
Is there
Well,
is there a
let's go
waiting
there.
period? Is there a required waiting period? I mean, do you have to wait to get a gun? Do you have to wait?
Well, it's
To have your
socialized
doctor
medicine,
kill you,
so the reasonable assumption would be
You're gonna be
you
waiting
have to
plenty.
get on a list behind all the other people that are depressed and want to go in and get help to die.
I mean, is there a,
So I guess
do
it
they
depends on
determine
how
a
many
level?
people want to do that?
Do they
Right.
determine a
I know I'm
level
laughing,
of
but for some
depression?
reason
Yeah, it just seems so fucking ludicrous.
It does. But
Yeah.
it is your choice to. I mean,
No,
But-
this is all
but on the other
voluntary.
side-
This is coming from somebody who grew up there, knowing Canada, they didn't account for any of that. So it's really going to be up to the individual institutions to decide how they want to do it, which is kind of good, but also like, what?
It's such a
Right.
touchy
No shit.
subject
Get
because
the wackadoodle in
I
chart
don't
somewhere.
want to promote people to go kill themselves.
No.
Well,
But on the other hand-
all I'm saying is like that aside, maybe there should be a few stops along the way before we get to just like here's a proposed solution. I know we've made life shit for you here in Canada the last couple of years, but if you don't like it, how about you just kill yourself? We'll help you do it.
It just sounds so cynical and weird,
Like,
yeah.
I feel like a normal, rational person would look at that and go, ick.
Yeah.
Like, that's not good.
Was we trying to get us all to kill ourselves? or
Yeah,
something?
that's what
Yeah.
it seems like. It's gross. Anyway, sorry, that was a weird aside.
I wonder.
Reminded me of.
I don't know if government needs to have a place in it though, because government, really, the professionals in the industry, doctors aren't just going to be like whatever you want, dude. They'll think. I mean, their
I don't
morality
think
is
so
also
either.
part
I
of
guess
it.
maybe that's probably that's. I think you just helped me figure out why I feel so weirdly about it at the core is because I don't think the government should be involved in so since we're talking about suicide, I don't think they should be involved in it one way or the other.
Right.
I think it should be they
100% legal.
shouldn't help you do it, nor should they say you can't do it.
Right.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
But
it's a very much.
But
a
is there a
social, private,
regulation on
individual
keeping
issue.
it moral and what other word am I looking for?
tidy.
Basically, so let's say I'm somebody who's designated to be a shot giver or trigger puller or whatever. Let's say there isn't any bounds on how I can assist you in killing yourself,
The
and I decide I'm
executioner.
going to use an axe.
Right.
Now it's like, I got a guillotine in my basement. I'm going to chop your head off.
Well, I think that's up to society.
Right.
I mean, that
So-
would be if. I guess society would be like, I guess we're okay with the guillotine.
Do we have
There's a lot of feelings that go along with that, though. Like, what about that person's family? Just because it was cool between the two of you, what if their family wants to come and kill your ass because they weren't okay with you helping their relative?
But I'm just going back into the government
thing.
thing. Does the government take a place to say we're going to regulate it to if you want to kill yourself? As it's a ridiculous subject, quite frankly, but a real
That's
one.
the social issue we landed
But
on.
a
It's
real
probably my
one,
fault.
honestly,
It is.
It is.
It's good. It's a good one though.
But if this is becoming a real thing,
Yeah.
does the government say, yes, it's okay, but we're going to regulate it to you're going to use this procedure to do it, which is a series of shots that make you go to sleep and your heart stops.
Right. Where do you
Versus-
where do you decide?
versus somebody's like, I want you to kill me, but I want you to cut my head off.
Right. And shoot me out of a
Why I
cannon
did
into
that
the
with
sun.
a redneck voice, I'm not really sure, but it
redneck-
just sounds so fucking ludicrous.
It's a valid stereotype. Rednecks do some crazy shit.
I do.
You know you do.
They're
rednecks.
wild
Yeah.
motherfuckers, and I love them. And yeah,
Me too.
I want my ashes to be snorted by hookers in Vegas.
Along with
I mean,
rednecks.
I do. I've been living around them my whole
Generally
life.
speaking.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm an outdoors guy. Probably not really a redneck, but
Yeah.
they are great to be around because they are efficient.
I've got a little in me for
They
sure.
know how to do the outdoors shit. Well, we kind of live in like a very saturated rednecky part of the world, I would say. I mean, it's not the most
Do we?
redneck place. I think so. We're
in eastern. Well, I guess
we're by
neighbors
northern
with
Idaho.
Yeah,
And I'd say
Montana.
eastern Washington.
You're right.
Really, what
redneck.
it is people who are really good with getting shit done with very minimal things.
Yeah.
Like stoners.
Stoners are good at that too. Natural allies. They just didn't know
Stoner
it.
ingenuity,
They
man.
just didn't know it. So as far as the Reasonabelist Party, I mean, so I don't even know. I guess we're still talking about
it's
assisted
kinda hard.
suicide.
Like, my knee-jerk reaction is, keep government out of social issues, But then I start, let's think about that a little deeper. Like, so the reasonable party, the Reasonabelists, it seems that we keep coming back to less form of government, especially federal government.
Mm-hmm.
So it seems like we're sort of antithetical to large scale federal governance.
Yep.
But so
Not the friend
how
of the
does
state government
how does
either.
that how
Right.
does that so let's take it down all the way down to communities then, right? So what is I don't know. I'm kind of getting into the weeds, but like are we against there being any sort of governance that polices social
The industry
issues,
should do
period?
it. Yes, in my view, and I'm open for ridicule, but like the industry,
He thinks things.
I do
what
think
a loser.
things. I am a loser. But say Dr. Kevorkian wants to start this business and stuff, it becomes an industry pretty much overnight when people say, okay, it's okay to do that. So some doctors are going to be like, yes. Unscrupulous doctors will be kicked out of the business after there's competition and we look at it. But the market itself should do like it does with most other things. If there's something that we like, we'll get more of it. If there's something that we don't like, we'll get less of it. And the protections will be up to doctors. It'll really be up to the patient and the doctor. And that really is where it should be. There's no expertise that a government bureaucrat brings to the relationship between the doctor and the patient. And so it just frees up the ability for them to do their jobs and that person
What if you
to...
found out the doctor was drunk the night before?
I don't believe there will be
you're
a
going to die.
serious.
You're going to
Shit
die one
happens.
way or the other, I guess. So.
It's going to be a little less comfortable.
But I mean, what if you're the family member of the guy that went in and got medically assisted suicide, and then you find out that doctor that said, "Yeah, sure, I'll help you do that," was still wasted from the night before?
I don't
Should
know
there
how...
be any recourse. Like nobody gets nobody.
Oh, I
like,
think
you just have no say.
I think there should be say. I think,
Yeah.
again, it's going to be punishment through the market. So it won't be like we're going to throw you in jail and stuff. It's like your ability to make money in this field is gone, most likely. There will be lawsuits, I'm sure. There's definitely legal systems without government possible. If there was some harm done or some negligence done, those things will be come up, I think.
So society decides what the regulations are only after things happen?
Well, it's just kind of like normal things. Like the industry is going to decide what they want to do, and they'll evolve as time goes.
Yeah.
And as people, the customers are basically the ones that dictate. The customers will say what they think is moral and what they think is immoral. Whether they're right or wrong, the market doesn't really say.
There's definitely a sliding scale before we get there, though, right?
Yeah.
So, and
But I
guess
Go ahead.
that's my. So the government, as of we know now, usually tries to say, okay, well, this is going to be a thing. These are the rules in which it needs to play in. I don't know if that's right or wrong. That's just all that I know.
Right.
But how do we make that separation from, okay, well, we're not governing this per se, but we don't want XYZ. I keep coming up with this weird thing of suicide. Again, if a doctor wants to start being experimental with that, is there a way to stop that prior to that happening, or does the market only handle it after people find out that he's skinning people alive?
It is
as an extreme example,
Yeah,
of
what
course.
if people don't find out?
No, that's exactly right. I mean, there's no utopia in my vision. I see anarchy.
I'm not expecting you to.
Right.
I think
Yeah.
I think the reasonable way to look at it is not if it's getting us closer to utopia, but
how quickly do we fix it?
Is it better than what we have now?
Yeah. Removing government, it's like if you were to remove cancer, like what would you want to replace your cancer with? It's like nothing. That's what I look at it as. It's like we're better
candy.
Well, so
we're better off with cotton candy for sure.
Without knowing a whole lot about this assisted suicide, it basically sounds like it just basically is what it is. We don't know if there's parameters on it or not. You can only do this. But let's say it's as simple as I'm 51 years old, tired of living, I want to die today.
That's what it sounds like.
Great, we'll
it's
pencil you
close
in.
to.
How does the 19th look for you? We can't get you until then. Okay, good. Come to my appointment and do my thing. If that's happening in Canada, the reality of that happening here soon is very realistic, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe.
So how does our
Canada's gone a bit further afield in a lot of ways than we have.
They're
recently.
usually.
But I'm saying it's not out of the realm of possibility,
It's not, for
right?
sure not. Yeah.
So how do we realistically handle that?
Well, you shouldn't. If it hurts any other people, that's when I guess government, since we're talking about government, should come in. But if it doesn't hurt anyone else, it shouldn't.
And you're
affect
speaking
anyone else.
physically hurting.
Yeah, because suicide and things like that, they do mentally hurt people around them and things like that.
For sure.
But you are ultimately responsible for your life, and I guess I do mean physically. There's nothing we can do about psychology. I mean, we may have hurt somebody psychologically today by doing this podcast.
Right.
So.
Because even if somebody I know kills themselves, and it is still my responsibility as to how I'm going to respond to that. So I agree with that.
Yeah.
Even though it's generally going to create negative ripple effects and cause other people to live
I
negatively.
think that might be another piece of why I have qualms with that system of, let's just make, I think how it went down, and I could be mistaken about this, so you can correct me if I'm wrong, somebody out there, but I'm pretty sure that the way that it went down was they added documented mental illness as a valid reason for seeking medically assisted suicide. So it's not just depression. It's like if you have any kind of mental illness diagnosis from any doctor, including depression, then you can go in and request medically assisted suicide.
But doesn't mental illness a lot of times to that level exclude you from being able to make decisions for yourself to begin with?
Not necessarily. It can. It certainly can.
I mean, a lot of people have.
You're depressed doesn't mean you don't know how to make.
A lot of people
decisions for yourself,
have other people in charge of their estates or their funds whatsoever. Whether that just be a check from the state a month to owning
that's
millions of
thing. What
dollars.
if somebody else has power of attorney and they have documents saying you're not fit to make your own decisions, and they decide
you're going to die,
so they ask for somebody to assisted suicide you.
Right.
Then I think that's assisted murder. I think at that point.
But that's a weird.
Somebody will play that loophole somehow.
We're not really covering the government part of this, but the topic itself is really interesting.
It is interesting.
But anyway, what I was going to say is I think part of the reason I have qualms with it is because I agree. All that it all comes down to you, whether you're the one reacting, choosing how you're going to react to it, or you're the one who's sadly taking your life. It comes down to you, but I feel that you have to take responsibility for it in both cases. So if you decide that you want to be done living, you need to be the one to sort that out, in my opinion. Otherwise, unless you physically can't for some reason, or I don't know, there's asterisk over everything I say. What do I know? But I feel my personal code of honor, I guess, let's say, is I'm like, if you decide that you're gonna be done, that's on you. And you can't expect anybody else to do it for you. That seems dishonorable and
it might be a workaround
me,
for some religious beliefs too. I think that's what it is, because killing yourself is a sin, and having somebody else do it for you.
Interesting.
I think if you pay him, though, I think that means that you're doing it to yourself. But whatever.
But what if all of society?
But you can tell,
right? No, it's taxes.
But the reality is, you can justify anything you can tell yourself in your mind. So
this ride is voluntary, though. So I fundamentally believe that you can end this ride whenever you want to, and just please don't.
I think so.
Try and ride it out as long as you can.
I think it's really tragic, and there's a lot of ramifications. But I agree with you.
So here you go. On that same token, law enforcement, people put themselves in position to intentionally be shot by the police and killed.
I'm not for that. Suicide by cop is the
I don't agree with that.
And then the police, a lot of times, get blamed for. Not only do they have to live with that, then they get blamed for it.
Right.
Sometimes
that's one of those misnomers.
legally,
So
Yeah, what a shit.
It is.
Not only do you have to deal with it,
Damned if you
It is
do.
within
like
society
everybody else,
transferred
you have to deal
intent
with
and not a
people blaming you
suicide.
for it. That's
Yeah.
wild. Yeah.
Damned if you do, damned if you don't is like the motto, I think, for policing as of currently. So.
But I'm just saying on the subject of what he was saying, if somebody, or what you were saying, if somebody else kills me, then it's not, as far as religion goes, it's not my fault. They did it. Well, that plays out within society. If somebody is suicidal and they
Yes.
put themselves in a position to get killed by the police did it. They didn't do it.
Because your god or gods are not smart enough to make the distinction. They
They didn't see what
force
you were.
their hand.
I didn't see nothing. Okay.
It wasn't in the book. Loophole.
Loophole.
Yeah,
All right.
I don't know, man. So, okay, can I pose one more hypothetical to bring it back to the actual question?
Yeah, and
Give
let's
it a
see if-
shot.
and
We'll
let's-
see where-
let's
we'll
if
see
it's
where it
legal or
goes.
not.
Yeah, and I'm probably gonna relate it to suicide too. That's the theme, but it's not about that specifically. So let's say, because to your point, Zach, about the market sorting that shit out, right? I think that's possible, but I'm just trying to wrap my head around what that looks like in practice, right? So let's say hypothetically, Jill Greaves decides to set up a business that assists people in dying when they want to,
Okay.
and she gains some success from people that have, I've wanted to die for so long, so I'm going to go see Jill and she'll help me out, right?
Right.
So I know I'm being facetious, and I'm not. Sorry, I'm an asshole, but
Be even worse if they
it's
had the
for
little
the sake
card
of
like
comedy.
coffee.
We have to. I laugh in the face of morbidity.
Exactly.
So Jill's doing a booming business, but then somebody else decides that they have a serious fundamental grievance with Jill's business, so they go and they just burn it down.
Oh shit.
Who steps in and says what's okay and what's not in that situation?
Oh, without a government?
Right.
Oh, well, to remove government and to remove law enforcement and all that stuff, I mean, you have to still have a system of a legal system.
So
kind
I guess
of thing.
that's what I'm asking.
Yeah.
What's the alternative?
Well,
What does that look like?
there's a bunch of them, and that I don't think I have enough. I'm not the right guy to answer it.
Sure.
But a legal system without government is one of the more fascinating things, because it's similar to like how insurance would be. So, let's say,
I
say
hate insurance.
I know, but it is a way to get something that you couldn't normally afford at a price you can afford. That's kind of what insurance is this. I mean, it still is a good feature. And if
a
it's
great
security, it is for sure. But it's the same thing as like a utility, though. You could look at it like a utility, and we could treat it like a utility instead of a government thing. And so basically companies would compete as, I don't know what the terms are. There was a really cool term where it's like a grievance officer company, but
Enforcers.
they have, yeah, but they have police, they have armed people, but they have more so they have people that are like from the lawyer standpoint, and from, it's just a kind of group of people that
Are the rules different for them?
as far as like how enforcement happens.
Yep.
I think that's up to the community how they what they allow them to do, and that would be a bunch of things to shoot through. As an anarchist, I don't have the answers.
I know.
All I know is
I
that
don't either.
the
This is
cancer's
just-
got to go.
I'm not like, fuck you, I'm
No,
poking
no,
holes
no,
in your
no.
shit. I'm just genuinely curious.
I
what
would
it
check
look
this out. If those of you guys are interested and you're like, okay, well, I've never heard of a legal system outside of government. That's foreign to me. There's a guy named, it's actually Milton Friedman's son, David Friedman, and he's an anarcho-capitalist. And that might turn a lot of you off right away, but he does have interesting ideas on whatever kind of anarchy you're interested in, of looking at what a legal system would look like without government and how they would enforce these things. And they've done it in certain places, like Iceland hundreds of years ago did this, and Spain did this a little while ago in the early 20th century.
They're both doing great.
It was they were well. Scandinavia did great for a long. Scandinavia is still a wonderful place, but they definitely didn't continue this idea, and it was like Middle Ages Scandinavian stuff. But when you're looking for examples,
Variables have changed a
but
bit.
there's more examples of anarchism than there is of actual capitalism, or of, and some might argue of actual communism, which I disagree with that. But they would argue that, and they're probably right on a lot of levels that I don't know about. But so there's been anarchic systems, or people just being governmentless and leaderless in history, and there's tons of different societies that we don't know about, and civilizations that existed long ago, and blah blah blah. But I don't know.
All right.
I don't know what the community would do.
So-
but I bet you it would be better than sending the government in to solve it.
So per the usual, we've come out of this with more questions than answers.
But
when
there
we
should
went
be-
into it.
well,
But here's the deal. Why don't we set this? I feel like this is a good opportunity to set this as a framework. So like, why don't we just start picking at specific social issues in the future.
Yeah.
in future
Well, we did. I
episodes.
think we talked about.
And we kind of have been
assisted
doing that,
suicide.
yeah, but like let's just grab issues and try to unpack them a little bit, maybe revisit them if they're too complicated, which most of them probably will be.
Yeah, and you guys help us. I mean, we'll revisit these. There's plenty of letters that you guys are sending in with
And they're
good
great,
ideas.
by the way. Please keep doing that. I love reading them.
This isn't us trying to push a view. I'm
not at all.
This is us posing questions more than anything.
I would like the Reasonabelist Party. It doesn't have to follow what I think about everything. Like, again, I'm an anarchist, but this is a literal government party.
Unless you love big government, then you can't be in the
that's
party.
true.
I mean,
That doesn't seem
we're asking
reasonable.
questions that pose more questions, which will probably pose more questions. And with all that, we might end up with an answer for a thing or two.
Yeah, maybe. Who knows? And maybe one of you guys will run on this platform in the future.
Yeah.
100
If
years
nothing
from now.
else,
And you'll think
a different
you'll
way.
think fondly of us fucking assholes.
And if nothing else,
Right out.
a different way of how you live your life personally.
Yeah. Cool.
I doubt they'll think fondly of us.
Probably not.
Maybe
I
you.
Or we're dicks. And
Total
I'm not
dicks.
my biggest fan. That's how I know I'm not a narcissist.
I don't
Because
like myself.
I don't really care for
Yeah.
myself most of the time.
I can barely hang out with myself.
If I wasn't me, I wouldn't hang out with me. That's all I'm saying.
Well, we got a few things left. Why don't we talk fuck this thing? And it's microwaves this time.
Yeah, fuck microwaves. This is my thing. I don't like microwaves. You guys like microwaves?
I use microwaves. I mean,
Do you like it?
it's convenient.
Joyless.
I don't.
joyless.
It is joyless.
Do you like to cook?
I don't.
It robs you of the joy of cooking.
Mostly, honestly, I oven top cook because I don't currently have a barbecue
Stove
right
top?
now.
Oven top?
But
You oven top cook.
He uses pans and pots.
yeah,
and shit.
pots and knives, pots
Yeah.
and pans and
Yeah.
shit like that.
Okay.
Generally,
Stovetop.
yeah.
I got you.
I don't cook for shit, so
But I'm not anti-microwave necessarily. I just don't tend to eat foods that go in a microwave.
Do you want to know an interesting
Unless
I want to know why you
factoid?
hate
Unless I need to
microwaves,
reheat it.
You want to know an interesting factoid about microwaves?
Yes.
You know what the slang term for them in Australia is?
What?
So to understand this,
a boxy cunt.
to understand this, probably to understand this, you have to understand the slang word for food, just food in general in Australia, is tucker.
Tucker.
Tucker, tucker. Like, you know, I'm gonna tucker in there.
Right.
You're right.
Tuck it in my face, how?
I think that's why. I don't know. What the
Tucker
fuck do I know?
into the food hole.
I think that's why. Yeah. But so it's tucker, and they call the microwave colloquially the tucker fucker because it fucks up your tucker.
They're right. It
And
never
they're right,
does.
I
It never
think.
tastes as good. If you do the experiment of like a hot pocket, even for example, and it's I know
Because they're
The roof
so
of my
already
delicious.
getting
and
diarrhea.
delicious.
just went. Ah! We had like war flashbacks, like the choppers, my friends.
Has anybody ever eaten a pizza pocket or whatever, the hot pocket, without losing the roof of their mouth?
no.
No, never.
That's not how you eat
That's
it.
not
you,
how it works.
You
Yeah.
sacrifice for
You
the
sign
food.
up for that when you put the hot pocket in the microwave.
But you know, on the back, I don't know if hot pockets are this way because they're literally designed for microwaves at this point. But I think at one point you could put them also in a conventional oven or a toaster oven type thing. Not a toaster, but one of those.
You
whatever.
probably still can. It's just not even promoted.
Yeah, they're like, we know you don't have one of those. You fucking whatever it is. I feel like they always talk down to me. They're the hot pot company, hot pockets. But
You'd think the thing designed to go in microwaves would be the best thing coming out of the microwave.
yeah, it is
right?
not. No,
It's not. It's
If
arguably
you put-
one of the worst.
Yeah, but if you put a hot pocket in the oven, it's not so bad. I mean, it's still hot pocket shit on the inside, but you're like, okay, is that dinosaur meat?
I've literally
or
never
elephant?
done that.
Well-
I was like, that doesn't go in there. It's microwave only.
Right. And it-
Lately, I've learned, so like the reheating,
Yeah.
it's convenient, but food actually tastes better reheated on the oven.
in an
It
oven.
sure
Oh,
fucking
big time.
does.
Yeah.
By 1,000.
And I do
It
that
doesn't
more
suck
now.
all the moisture out or turn the center of it into napalm. Or sorry, the edges into napalm
Yeah.
and the center is still frozen.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Microwaves-
Cold from the fridge.
Microwaves are good if you like popcorn.
So
I'll give you that popcorn real
I'll-
quick.
I'll allow this. There are right and wrong ways to employ a microwave, and they do have a certain utility in some instances.
Okay.
Generally speaking, and for the way that most people use microwaves, I think they're fucking trash.
They're good for science.
They're
Put-
good. I put in silly putty. That was fun when I was a kid.
Hard-boiled egg is the best.
Oh, I never did that one. Does
Put it in for
does
3
explode?
minutes.
Does it
Yeah.
explode? Yeah.
You know you can do.
I put in a Kraft single. You know those Kraft singles, those cheese that aren't really cheese.
Mm-hmm.
I put one of those in there, and after about 30 seconds, it blows up into a perfect sphere, like a balloon.
Really?
It doesn't surprise
Try
me.
it,
And then,
and don't talk to me about having to clean it up. It's your fault. That's the price you have to pay.
you know, I'll throw this one at you. I was lazy one day and I wanted to make spaghetti. And I was like, I don't want to fucking pull the pan out. I just didn't want to do the stirring, I guess. I had other stuff I wanted to do. I didn't want to stand there and do stuff. I had other stuff to do. I was doing like sketch or something. I don't know, whatever. But
I got to get back to jerking off.
Yeah,
I'm also hungry.
I got to get back to shadow boxing immediately because I'm living life raw dog style. But
plug, buy the shirt. With a rally towel.
2.7.
I forgot what I was talking about. Now, what the
You
hell
didn't
was
want to stir, so
You were
you're
jerking
jerking
off
gross
spaghettis.
And making SpaghettiOs.
But you can make spaghetti very easily and not very far off from the normal spaghetti in the microwave.
What do? You put
fill it up
in water?
You put it up with water. I put it in there for like 7 minutes and then I stir it and then I put it in there for another 6-7 minutes and then you drain it. And it's fucking noodles, bro.
So
and you don't have to stand there. You just stir once.
For the same length of
one
time.
important ingredient.
Love, spit.
Love.
There is zero love.
The same amount of time you could have made it on the stovetop, you made it in the microwave. You just had to walk back and forth more.
No, I didn't. I literally, I didn't have to stand there. That's why I did it. And I didn't want to have to deal with pans and then turn the heat on.
Did you really get anything done in that 14 minutes of back and forth?
It's me, yeah. I mean, I jerked off twice.
He's efficient.
I fucking jerked it twice. No, I don't know. I've done it so many times. At this point, I've done it so many times. And this is also a fail-safe for me who, I mean, I used to work in restaurants, so I know how to cook a little bit and stuff, but I don't trust myself with the gas. It's fucking terrible. I'm a pot smoker. I'm just over here chalking down bowls with the gas. Blowing up the house.
Let me explain. Zach is a contrarian.
I don't mean to be.
Deep down in all of your hearts, if you're honest with yourself, you don't love the microwave. It's purely a vehicle for convenience.
Yeah, it is.
Everything you use a microwave for, you can do with a stove and an oven.
And
it takes maybe 5 extra minutes. I know because I haven't owned a microwave in 8 fucking years. And I haven't starved.
I have a little countertop one, and I would say the only thing I've used it for is to reheat bacon. No.
Reheat bacon?
Yeah.
Bro, put it in a pan with a lid on low heat.
It's pre-cooked bacon.
I know.
It's awesome. And put it in the pan still.
I did that this morning,
I guess
dude.
it would work.
I pre-cook a pound of bacon in the
I can do it when I'm frying my eggs.
3 or 4 slices in the morning.
Yeah.
When the pan's heating up for your eggs, put the bacon
in.
And then the same amount of time when you're ready, you would have heated up the pan anyway.
I fry 6 eggs, 4 pieces of bacon. That's breakfast.
And the bacon will still be moist. It won't be crunchy. It'll be good. I mean, it'll be a little crunchy because it's...
Well, tell me how to make a Big Mac taste better the next day.
Yeah, if it involves bread, you're fucked, dude. Bread doesn't keep in the fridge.
No,
sorry. Especially if it has sauce on it.
Whoopsie daisy. I haven't had a Big Mac for fucking ever. That doesn't sound good at all right now. I haven't eaten fast food. I've eaten fast food like 3 times this year, I think.
Good for you.
So my body is like systematically just rejecting everything that's shit for me. Like it's forcing me to stop. Like I had to quit coffee. Love coffee. Had to quit coffee.
It's good for you to quit coffee.
And I'm okay.
Burned bean juice.
I'm okay,
bro.
but I miss it. Love coffee.
Yeah.
I can't do it anymore.
I love
Caffeine,
the idea
can't
of
do
toothpicks.
Can't do weed. I loved weed. Probably still do, but I can't do it anymore. It fucks me up. Now apparently, according to the doctor that I broke down and went to see this week, I gotta not do alcohol, which is fine. So I stopped drinking, but I'm like. And
now what do I get to do?
It's for the sake of my stomach. Like he didn't say quit. He's like, you can have some, like, a drink a week, and I'm like, what's
going on with your stomach?
What's the point? We don't know for sure yet, but it's been causing me a lot of problems for the last month or so. So I finally decided to go in and get it checked out because I didn't know what it was, and he thinks it's maybe like GERD or I could have an ulcer or a hernia. So it might not be permanent. But for right now, I'm not drinking, which isn't hurting me. But I'm just like, man, what's next? My body's like, guess what? Cheese is off the menu, motherfucker. I'm gonna be like, nope, this is how we die. That's where I draw the line.
Bacon and cheese gotta go. Well, no, you gotta go, buddy. You're no longer my doctor. Sorry.
So yeah, by the time I'm 40, I'm just gonna be eating nothing but raw vegetables and lightly seasoned turkey and water, and that's gonna be my life.
And definitely not putting them in the microwave.
Nope.
Because fuck this thing.
Fuck the microwave.
Well, I hope everything turns out better.
I'm all right.
And eating healthy is definitely the best way to fight that first.
Yeah. It kind of sucks sometimes, but
yeah,
I'm already losing weight, which I needed to do anyway, so fuck it. I'm just treating this as a forced meal plan with
there you
go.
No more of the Cheetos and the treats.
I was like,
that's how I look at it.
I was eating that bad, but I guess not drinking is a good step.
Well, I've got advice I tell myself from Jeff. If you're going to ask for the truth,
yeah,
then prepare for the truth.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, I guess it is advice I've told myself throughout life. But I also tell other people too. And yeah, if you're going to ask somebody a question and you want the truth, and they give you the truth, and it's something that you didn't want to hear, you still have a responsibility to respond to it like an adult and not get all pissy and lose your shit and then become a victim out of it. And now the general examples that I give, well, we'll go with a woman who is wearing a pair of pants and she doesn't like the way that she looks, but she decides to ask you, does my ass look fat in these pants? Now, you have two choices at this point.
Yeah, but I like them fat.
Yeah. you can
the right answer.
What she's looking to be is placated because she knows they don't look good. She wants you to tell her that they look good.
Or she wants a compliment on her ass and
Yeah.
she's fishing for it.
Right. But if you happen to say, no, those don't look very good, she's probably going to get upset.
Yep.
And that's not fair because she asked you for an honest answer.
No,
and you
that's
gave
your
one.
fault. You should have lied.
Right,
Don't be dumb.
right. So, but that's just like a dude,
Yes.
It's like a guy he starts dating.
Jeff, why? I mean,
No,
for Christ's sake, it
I
depends on
can't.
your
Don't
relationship
die on
here.
that hill,
won't.
buddy.
Yeah, you live with this person because if you're living
See,
with
and
this
that's
person,
what sucks is
Are they
that's
spitting in your food?
That's what sucks is that's the natural response of, oh my God, you're fucking insane for telling the truth. That's sick. That's sad to me. That's actually really gross.
not insane. Just,
It's
pick
about-
your battles, buddy. That's all
Right.
I'm saying.
And it's
kinda
also
fucking gross.
And I
Is
think
it important to you to tell her that her ass looks fat?
right.
If it's a genuine question, then yeah.
But it's also
Honestly,
about,
and it's
very
just an
important to Jeff.
example.
That's
It's
honorable.
one
Yeah.
goddamn example. Okay.
poor
But
fool.
on the flip
Poor
side,
honorable
dudes
fool.
are stupid too.
Oh, that's
They
horrible.
start dating a gal and then they decide it's going to be a good idea to say, how many guys have you slept with? And then
Stop.
they give the answer, and then they decide that they don't like the answer, and then they treat her different or lose respect or get mad at her about shit that she did before they even were together. And it's like, dude, be happy that she was the Thomas Edison of dicks and she didn't give up because you got to be the light bulb of her life.
you're the one that worked.
But for her consistency of being a dick connoisseur, she would never got to yours and you wouldn't have her in your life. So don't be an asshole.
Yeah.
Don't make her past a problem for you.
I
You should be
completely
proud.
agree with that example, Jeff.
Your dick
I
was
see eye to eye
chosen.
with you on that one. That's like, but it's like if you're gonna start inviting somebody to be a part of your life, whatever they did before that is noteworthy, but can't be held against them.
Absolutely.
You know
not.
what I mean? In my opinion, like it's just like, hey, I'm glad you felt comfortable enough to be honest with me about your past. It apparently made you who you are. So, like, if I was there at the time, I probably would have had some feelings about it. But you didn't
Right.
even know me, so it's not any of my business.
You became who you are today.
Hashtag not all since war crimes and murder records and stuff. Those things
Well,
probably.
Yeah,
Try not to
I
keep
mean,
the war crimes. Like, did you work in Dachau? Okay, tell me that.
No, man. Like if
Okay, well, you know
if
how I
she
am with
used to be
blanket
an axe
laws.
murderer,
I don't like blanket laws. We can hashtag not all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We should hashtag not all everything always. Which should go without saying.
I think
In
we
general.
should, I think we should asterisk within reason everything that we say.
Yes, for sure.
Well, we talk about being reasonable for a reason.
We're trying our best.
Reason. Say it more times. That's a good candy. You ever had a reason?
Yes, they are good.
Reasons are good.
They're the candies the grandfathers
They're
give their
caramel.
children. That's
I don't
right.
even know what it is.
They're caramel candies. They're very good.
They're like what's the
If
other
you like
kind?
caramel.
Yeah, what's the other kind that they have? There's Reasers and then there's Werther's. Werther's originals.
Original.
Yeah, you know those.
Yeah.
Okay, well it's those, but Hershey's version or something.
The more reasonable ones.
Yeah. They should we should get them and have them on the show at all times.
You think they'll sponsor our campaign?
No.
It could be our first.
0% chance.
What if we let them lobby us?
0%. They will not do nothing. If
No
you
lobbying.
They wouldn't support us if you had it tattooed on your face. I don't think, because government helps big companies a lot of times. So I don't know who owns Reaser, but I'm gonna guess it's Nestle or somebody that knows how to play the government real well. Things I learned. This is back to you again. This is back to Shaiden.
Oh, me?
Yeah.
Which one is it?
This is the Africanized bees and it's
shit,
their
yeah.
origins. This was crazy.
Okay, hold on. I need the guy's name. So Africanized bees, they are bees that were genetically modified. They were crossbred with South American bees and bees from Africa. And it was by this guy who I'm going to look up his name right now because it's not a name in the country that I grew up in, so I can't remember it. It doesn't stick in my brain. I try real hard, but his name was Warwick Estevam Kerr.
Okay.
He was a geneticist in Brazil, and he was like the bee guy. Like he was expert on bees and animal husbandry, and so he was, as I understand it, at a cursory examination, he was taking these two bees, the African bees and the bees from Brazil, and crossbreeding them in hopes of making their honey better in some way. I don't know if it's more nutritious or it might have been just to get them to produce more honey. Anyway, but he had really strict guidelines about how they were supposed to be taken care of. Well, one day he had a replacement beekeeper who was
Doofus
new, he or she, I'm not sure.
Ruiner of worlds.
This person was new to
He got the Mogwai wet.
job, and he fed him after midnight.
Good job, nerd. You nerded.
Yeah, well done, dude.
That's a Christmas
Makes
movie.
me so proud.
Oh, shit, yeah, you even call it a Christmas
Wow.
movie. You're
Hell
missing
yeah.
out on being a great
Hell
nerd.
yeah. So anyway, this guy.
So was Die
I'm
Hard.
so proud. So I agreed.
Agreed too.
So this guy came in, and apparently there was these screens. They had to keep them segregated in a certain way. I don't know. I'm not a bee expert, but this guy was like, "Oh, it's impeding the worker bees." So he pulled the screen out on these things. Well, 27 queens got loose of
there
these
was an
crossbred
orgy.
bees. Yeah, had a crazy bee orgy in Brazil, as one does.
That sounds.
And then so they
That's why I'm trying to get
got
down
out
there.
into the wild and were never able to be contained, and they're very aggressive, and they kill people when they'll swarm and kill people and animals. But they also, the bigger problem is they're an invasive species, so they will come into other beehives, dominate, breed into them until the whole hive is now these crossbred Africanized bees, and then so this is why it's a problem. They're working their way north. They have been since like the 60s or 70s when this happened. Working their way north. They got all the way through Mexico, and now they're into the southern United States. So we've got people, little old retired people in Arizona that are keeping bees for the sake of their garden and having fresh honey, and then these Africanized bees are coming in, and before these people realize it, these bees have been converted or turned into crossbred into these Africanized bees, and then they start attacking people in the neighborhood and swarming, and people are dying from getting stung by these fucking genetically modified
But is
bees.
the honey good?
It's probably great. More risk, better reward.
Murder
That's how
honey.
that works. Yeah, murder honey is awesome. So all that is to say, yes, it's a problem. Maybe you should be concerned about it, but there is a show that follows a guy whose job is to go out and deal with these Africanized bee converted hive problems in like Arizona and down in the southern United States.
Like a reality show?
It's like a reality show. Like he goes in, and the production is the best fucking thing I've seen. Like he's got a guy following him with a camera. He's in total bee gear, and he's like, "Where's the issue? We're gonna go kill some fucking bees." He curses, and he's like taking charge of like firefighters. He's like, "Here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna build a wall so you can get that person out of that house." And he's like, just got spray cans, and he's like, "We're making a wall." He's like, they're killing bees as they're going, trying to get these people into the ambulance that have been stung, and they're like, "Rah,"
Holy shit.
And then they go up and they spray the hive in the backyard of somebody's house or whatever. But the best part of it is they will have anytime a bee flies close to the camera, they put it into slow-mo and they play this like cheesy heavy metal guitar solo, like, and then it flies away and the show just continues. So look it up on YouTube. That's where I found clips of it.
Is there a name? What's the name of it? Do you know?
I'll have to look it up. I'll put it in the Discord.
Okay.
If you want to know, you're gonna have to go check it out on our Discord. I'll find some clips so you can get to it. But best thing I've seen all week, and that's how I learned about the Africanized bees. Didn't even realize it was a problem, but people have died from this guy's genetic work and hiring the wrong janitor.
That's what sucks. Is like you're fucking with science, and we appreciate that sometimes when it goes right, but.
Well, I had an uncle that had beehives, and he was trying to change the genetics of honeybees as well to make them have longer tongues. I wonder if he's involved, if he ended up being involved in some
so they'd be better
genetic cloning down in Africa.
King of the orgy.
They would make they wanted to make the girl honeybee, the queens, happier, keep her in the hive longer.
It's for your pleasure, honey.
And then I don't know.
That's wild. He did really though, huh?
He did, and at some point
I'm assuming that was actually so that they could get more pollen, right? Is that?
Yes, yeah, that was the idea. Well, and keeping the the queen bee happy.
Yeah, it's important.
But
don't tell her ass looks fat in the pants.
Placater is what you're saying.
That's what we're saying, Jeff.
Yeah,
do your best.
Well, I mean, okay, if you want to.
But by the way,
bring up divorce numbers. I guess you're right.
Who's got the better track record?
Fair enough.
Yeah, I heard that James Hetfield, the singer for Metallica, was into raising bees. I thought that was interesting. It's like that must be a
It-
nice,
well, it's-
relaxing
It's
thing
one
to
of
do.
those things
It's
like
actually really
keeping tigers
interesting.
for pets in my mind, you know? It's like, is it cool? Yeah.
I think he's a
Are there-
farmer, though. I think it's more
I mean, yeah,
practical.
I guess there's more utility than having a tiger.
A tiger is,
still,
yeah,
it's
really-
like you just want to keep those things that could literally kill you in a box.
Yes.
Like, if I don't feed my goldfish, they're not going to sting me to death. That's all I'm saying.
We got to get some piranhas or something.
Although
then.
my cat would eat me if I died, so what do I know?
I don't know. I
That's
think it'd be
true.
cool to have these. But it's probably
I need a shirt that says, "What do I know?" I'm starting to say that a lot.
my uncle.
I don't fucking know anything.
I don't either.
He had burned off an area of a hayfield to put his hives, and this is down in the Tri-Cities. And the wind kicked up, and he ended up being responsible for the time the largest fire in the state of Washington.
Oh fuck!
So, yeah, his bees didn't make it through that.
Whoops.
That was kind of the end of
It's
it.
probably because they probably messed with their heads and they all set the fires. The bees set the fires.
Just
I'm like
torched.
Destructive bees.
I'm like picturing him with that little puckered lip expression from Rick and Morty, looking at the fire.
Whoops.
Oh no!
You do a good,
Well,
Rick.
Time to jump to the other reality, Morty. This one's fucked. Squirrels.
Well, we got a couple letters that we got today.
Let's read some mail.
should we read some mail?
We
I've
need
got-
a jingle for when we read mail.
We can do that.
Everybody has a good mail. Like, well, it's not really a jingle, but you've got mail.
You've got mail.
Or fucking, we just got a letter.
I'm going to do
Got
that.
a
There will be
letter.
for this one. There'll be a little songy thing on there,
We just
and we're
got
talking
a
about it now.
letter.
It'll be in the thing.
No, we have to sing it.
God damn it! Well, somebody do the beatbox and let's lay it down. Mail.
How did I do?
Mail call. That's pretty good.
Right.
Actually, our drummer is like a
Yeah, he is.
professional
He's
damn
great.
beatboxer, and he
Figures.
threw you some lessons. Didn't
You
he?
only should have one talent. It's not fair to the rest of us. Fuck.
Do you want to read one? Do you
Yeah,
wanna
I'll read one.
All right, there's that one.
Give me the long one. Holy shit.
Oh, there's
No.
two long ones.
Oh, okay.
Here's
They're
this-
all long.
There's
Fuck, I can't see that shit.
Okay,
I don't even have
oh.
my glasses.
You guys are wordy. Love it.
All right. You want
It's
to
all dark
start?
and romantic down here.
I'll start. Sure.
All right.
I'm gonna go. This one, I'm gonna say a name. He didn't say not to say it, right? I read this one. I don't think he said that. Anyway, I'm name dropping you, Ryan. This one's from Ryan.
Yay.
Subject is billionaires is
Atlas, I think.
he says, "Hey guys, finishing up episode 9. That was today's episode in
It
our
was.
time. Finishing up episode 9 and had a thought about the existence of billionaires in our society. I agree that if you create a product or service that becomes highly demanded, you should be able to become extremely wealthy. That's great. That's the American dream. I'd love to get there myself. Me too, Ryan. But I still have an issue with some of the billionaires we currently have in this country. Me too.
Yeah.
I think the biggest reason I and so many people in our culture today whine about the super wealthy is that they do in fact seem like ill-gotten gains. Just take Big Jeffy B, for example. He's got enough money to go to space for fun. That's a lot of money. So his business is extremely profitable. That's fine. But his employees have been up in arms for a while, claiming they don't make enough money and aren't treated well. I would think he'd have the allowance to keep his employees happy and paid well. I'm going to pause there. I can't actually vouch for that as far as Spokane's concerned, because I've had a lot of friends go and work at the distribution place, and it's like, it's not just like, oh, this job kind of sucks. It's like they're treated very, very, very poorly.
Yeah.
From what I've been told. I haven't worked
yeah.
there, but anecdotally, I think I can back up his statement in this case. Ryan goes on to say, if the company holds enough value to take Jeff to space, then I would think the lower level employees also hold substantial value. But in this country, we allow company owners like Bezos to claim that the bottom level workers are only worth this livable wage, in quotes. I'm just not sure how that's fair. I know life isn't fair, but in a society where we try to protect people from being taken advantage of, it feels like we forget about the worker bees that make it all happen. I'd also argue that this is what feeds the wealth gap here. I think those of us closer to the bottom of the ladder, those of us that come from small towns, those of us that don't reach for the stars, in quotes, are just tired of being taken for granted when people like that can find a way to tip the scales and make more money than they know how to spend. I mean, people have to be at the bottom. We have to have people doing the most basic undesirable work. So why can't those people at least get their fair cut of all this vast wealth that we're hoping or helping to create, seemingly for just a few people at the top? That's my take on it. There's plenty I don't know, and there's plenty I'm wrong about. But from where I'm living my life, things seem purposely, selfishly, and insultingly rigged. But either way, I fucking love you guys. Scatcast is my 2.7.
Thank you, Brian. That was very thoughtful, man.
Yeah, Ryan.
Appreciate you.
That you put a lot of thought into that and took time to write it out. So
yeah,
I don't know. I kind of on some points I definitely agree. But there's also like, who decides what a fair cut is? You know what I mean? I guess the person that has the money has got to make that decision. So really, this isn't a matter of like, should they be forced? I don't think so. They shouldn't be forced to change how they operate their company unless they're literally like harming people, which maybe there's an argument to be made in some cases that they are. But I think that maybe they should be incentivized to treat people better would maybe be a better alternative to forcing them to treat their lower level employees better. I don't know what that would look like.
Profit sharing for all, maybe.
Yeah. I think just like with, say Comcast, I don't know if they've done this or not, but they have a reputation of being terrible customer service phone stuff. So I bet they've heard that.
As a 15-year customer, I can vouch for that.
Right. And if they had any competition, they would want to change that. I don't think they really do necessarily. There's some, but in some cities they're like the monopoly-ish kind of thing. But I will answer like his question, like when somebody, like for example, Jeff Bezos is a good example of this. Amazon is the largest collection of small businesses ever created, I think. It is a platform of all, there's big businesses on there too, but it's a giant platform for shopping for small businesses. I'm on there. Yeah. Many people I know are on there.
It's also a logistical feat of engineering.
Absolutely. It started as a bookstore where they're like,
it wasn't all Jeff's deal either. He was just the guy who took the initial risk, which should earn him, like if he shouldered the majority of the risk, he should get the majority of the reward. Right. I think that's true.
Well, it's one of those things where like I get it. There's so much nuance here because I think a lot of people see billionaires as like, how did you possibly get that money without cheating someone somewhere, without doing some dickhead move that we wouldn't approve of?
To be fair,
could see.
They tend to cheat a lot, and we've figured that out. Like even when it comes to filing their taxes, like otherwise, millionaires wouldn't have gotten stimulus checks because they filed their taxes to make it seem like their business actually lost money when in fact it was making them millions of dollars a year. So it's like
there's all that creative stuff that normal people can't do.
Right.
Even free market economists will say, you can't have the wealth gap be so obscene, and that is because of inflation. That's a big part of why it is that way. The money is just, they're pumping more money in, and the people at the top, it runs through them first. We spend it there first, and so that's part of the big problem. Is there's just it's more money, and so it looks like a big difference. But that's why we have revolutions in economics. Is people do not like to see that big of a gap between the wealthy and the middle class. Yeah. But we also have to look at this, like the world that we're living in now, the standard of living in the United States, even if you're at a level that you don't like in the economic world, is partly due to Amazon. Amazon is part of the reason our standard of living is higher. And these companies that make billions, even Tesla, the fact that Tesla, he makes a bunch of money for himself, that's like he's also making all this money for hundreds and hundreds of other companies along his supply lines, which means thousands and thousands of families. Perhaps, I remember him talking about it at one point, and that's just Tesla. There's so many companies like this. But maybe 500,000 to 1 million people is what he affects with that company. And so, I think Steve Jobs, his company was worth 80 million when he died or something, and he had a personal wealth of or 80 billion, and he had 8 billion. That doesn't bother me at all, because that 80 billion worth is stockholders like you and me. We can own stock, and so when it goes up, it's good for us, and when it blah, blah, blah. And then all of the people that make money along the road, from retailers and people that do things aftermarket stuff. And so it's just so much more.
Wealth does generate wealth, and there's always going to be a shitty end of the spectrum to be on, no matter how we change the system.
Yeah.
There has to be, otherwise.
But I also get when Americans or anybody that's watching this anywhere in the world, when they look at Jeff Bezos and they look at people living this life of luxury, I think it pisses people off a little bit on some level when it's like he moved a bridge that's been there for 1,000 years for his yacht or something like that, when it gets extreme, or when people are like, oh, he's personally just going up to space just to fuck off and whatever. But when I look at the space stuff, I'm excited for space. Yeah. And I'd rather have private companies do it than NASA, because private companies move faster, and there's I don't know, governments just don't do things like I would like. They waste a lot of money.
Private companies probably not going to get all their products from the lowest bidder as well.
Yeah, exactly. And they're not going to spend $500 on a hammer, but they'll also, it's also making it so we can go into space. I think that's what Jeff Bezos is trying to do. He's bringing people up with him. Is that right? Or was it Richard Branson that's trying to do like the moon trips or like the stratosphere trips? I agree with Ryan that, and most economists would agree with you on this too. When the amount of wealth gap becomes so obscene, where it's just ridiculous, that makes sense. But we still can't. Supply and demand is what creates the value of a worker in these things. Like a lot of people will say, the CEO of Walmart, he makes this big bonus and stuff. But when you do the math, like say there's 1 million employees randomly at Walmart, and they give the bonus CEO that gets $10 million or some shit. How much is that on a paycheck for a year? If you just got rid of the CEO, took that $10 million, gave it to all the workers, we're talking, was that $10, $100 a year on your paycheck that you get extra kind of thing when you break it down like that. So it's not as much money as people think, for one. Like, do I know if Amazon's 1 million plus work staff could be paid better? I'm sure. I don't know. But could Jeff Bezos with his profits do a big deal to his 1 million employees overnight? I doubt it. Well, do you do the math there? I bet
here's the deal,
a few $1,000s extra.
In my opinion, it's kind of it's one of those things
which helps.
It's easy to talk about. Like, it's nice to talk about, like, oh yeah, it'd be, I don't like the fact that Amazon is structured the way that it is. It's easy to say that, but at the end of the day, we collectively have the power to change that.
They don't force us to do
are
anything.
the market. So the fact that we haven't collectively done that means that the benefits must outweigh the shitty aspects of it.
Yep.
For the majority of
our
us,
market signals are saying that to them,
which is uncomfortable to say, because if you're the guy who's struggling on the shit end of that equation, and you want to change it, but you don't have enough peers to get with the program to change it for your betterment, for you.
It almost sounds like I hate that you're a billionaire, but I'm still going to support all your services and everything that you do.
Yeah.
Well, you can't have both.
Or I'm going to protest in weird ways, like I don't like Nike's business practices, so I'm going to burn my Nikes. Well, you already bought the Nikes,
right? Yeah, but I'm not advertising them to anyone else. It's my weird
okay.
protest.
You're virtue signaling to somebody.
They didn't
is what
hire
you're doing.
you, so you can't really quit.
Yeah. Well, there's a ton of that in the world. It's like the oil thing too. People don't know where that oil's in like everything. So they're like, I'm not going to drive this car. I'm going to get an electric car. It's like, well, all of the things that the car's made out of require high heat and require fossil fuels, and the glass is made of oil. All the plastic is made of oil. So, I mean, how do you replace that? And there's some ways, blah, blah, blah. It's like, we don't know where our food comes from all the time. So we protest things, and then it's counterproductive oftentimes.
That's what I mean. Like, I would say, and this isn't directly in response to Ryan necessarily. It's just reminded me of something I try to hold myself accountable on. But if something bothers you, take your time to actually look into the logistics and economics and the nuance of the thing. Try to understand it better, why it is the way that it is and what the reasons are. And then if you still feel like you want to change it, start doing something measurable other than just bitching about it.
Right.
And if you can't, then try to get yourself to a position where you can, if it matters that much to you, or decide that it doesn't matter that much and move on with your life.
Fair.
Fair. Reasonable.
Well, I wonder, it's like, would you rather live in a society of where it's possible to be a billionaire, or a society where it's impossible to be a billionaire?
Possible, for sure.
Yeah, and is it because you think one day you might be a billionaire, or is it just because we want to see people succeed at that level because it turns into good stuff for us, or is it because you're
bit of B.
a son of a bitch? This is a really complicated, economics is a very complicated thing, and I do see people talking about billionaires in a way that, for me, it's like, you have to break it down company by company. Like if it's a military industrial company, I want to look at it a little bit. I want to scrutinize it more. But if it's a company that creates things that we buy, and almost all of them in that way, where nobody forces us to go to Walmart, nobody forces us to buy Duracell batteries. We literally are choosing them voluntarily. So,
what if it's a company that helps you kill yourself?
Then do choose it voluntarily. All right. Actually,
unless you have a payee or something that chooses for you.
Well, you know what? Let's save this one for next time, I think.
Okay.
So, but I think that's our show. That was fun.
Wow, we did it.
We did it. We hung out and we talked and we had fun. All right, we'll talk at you in the future.
It'll seem like the present.
Bye.
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 It's just a ride. Whoa, oh, it's just a ride.
Bong.